सी अगर
वही
तुम्हें
मुझे
ये
थोड़ा
सारी बातें
कंफ्यूजन
सुन के
था।
ऐसा लग रहा हो कि मैंने कभी फॉर्जिंग की है तो तुम शायद राइट हो गए. लीगल
यार
कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस इन्वॉल्व. आई वी विल स्पीक टू दिस आफ्टर. हम रिकॉर्ड कर रहे हैं क्या इसको?
confessing to crimes and everything यहाँ पे.
रेंट अग्रीमेंट और इनकम टैक्स से रिलेटेड है. ये
Oh
सारा
God, oh my God.
कीप टॉकिंग।
मैं क्यों बोलती हूँ? मुझे कहाँ से चीजें याद आती है? आई एम
Sumit
If I
Shetty has a
see
lot of work to do. Hi everyone, welcome back to Hey Shona. Today we'll be discussing the series Mrs. Wilson. Before we start, I'll just tell you guys that the director of the show is Richard Laxton and the writer is Anna Symon. I was thinking for this series, since there are just 3 episodes, we can just discuss it episode by episode. That'll help us to understand what the character was going through as the story was unveiling for all of us. So I'll just start a little bit of episode 1, then we can start discussing what we felt. So in the beginning, the show starts off with Alison Wilson walking to her house, and she reaches home and she finds her husband working on his typewriter, working on a book, and they just talk for a bit, and she goes to the kitchen, and after a while she calls out to him, and he doesn't respond. She goes to the goes up to the room and finds him on the floor, and that's how the series starts, right? Now, up till here, it feels like a very regular sort of a story. You're just thinking, okay, Mrs. Wilson, we already saw her on the poster. It looks like she's lost her husband. But then she picks up the phone, she calls the priest, I think she calls an ambulance, and then she calls someone called Coleman, who tells her, act normally. Now, that's the first time we are like, okay, something is going on over here. This doesn't seem like a very regular sort of a story. And then you see that her sons have come home. The priest from her local church has come home, Father Timothy. And then, without them knowing, she goes near her husband, Mr. Wilson, Alexander Wilson's body, and takes out his wallet, and then she goes and hides it. Right? At this point, what did you guys think was going on? Ash, Sumit, Diljit?
I mean, I knew it was a historical fiction, so I thought something about secret service, police, secret service, something like that was going on. So that is what I thought. I thought कि कुछ मतलब like this is a couple, but they cannot let anybody know that this guy is died. So I thought something is going on, and also I thought something sinister is in play कि इसको पता नहीं चला है, but कुछ हुआ है. That's what I thought actually.
When I
Okay.
heard Fiona Shaw ka voice, like it's as ever since Harry Potter, she's only doing MI5 wale roles in Secret.
Yeah.
Like, ये कुछ तो ऐसा वैसा वाला झोल है, Secret Service type. So maybe
Yeah.
that was the first hook, right? That's uh,
Yeah.
like the death and all. It's very normal for a show to
Exactly.
get.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as you suggested, I had read nothing about the show. I just directly went in. Starting में ही it showed कि it is inspired by true events, right?
Yeah.
Until then, I did not know it was. I thought it was just a coincidence that Ruth Wilson is cast as Mrs. Wilson. So I did
Yeah.
not know the story until the end.
Yeah.
When I finished the show, तभी पता चला कि अरे ऐसा connection है उसका.
That's the best part, right? That's why I kept saying don't read anything about it.
Yeah. And then later I read all about
Yeah.
the show and the making of it. But until that call, it was a very, very normal type of. I thought it was that kind of a show, how they're dealing with the death of his of the father and the patriarch of the family.
Yeah. Yeah. Ayushi, what did you think?
I तो thought कि this is something to do with his identity क्योंकि वो phone call आया ना phone call किया
हाँ,
है इसको कि keep going on the way the things are,
yeah.
don't act anything otherwise. I thought कि this has something to do with his true identity और अभी priest आएगा तो अगर इनके पास से कुछ इनके असली documents मिल गए तो इनकी पोल खुल जाएगी and all of that, इसीलिए उसने अपना बटुआ छुपा दिया है और बाकी ये ऐसे सब कुछ act out कर लेगी कि ऐसे ऐसे सब हो गया है. तो मैं वही इसमें चल रही थी एंड आई थिंक यू टोल्ड इन वन ऑफ द कॉल्स कि दिस इज सम स्पाई रिलेटेड थिंग, तो आई हैड दैट इन माय हेड कि ये कुछ तो स्पाई रिलेटेड है एंड दैट फोन कॉल आल्सो कंफर्म्ड इट कि हाँ समथिंग इज हैपनिंग देयर. तो मैं वो नोशन से गई थी, इवन आई डिडंट रेड एनीथिंग अबाउट इट बट हाँ ये तो पता था कि ये कुछ स्पाई रिलेटेड है तो मैं तो वही सोचते जा रही थी. बट बाद में तो एक आया, दूसरा आया, तीसरा आया ये तो शेड ही है.
I mean, shady word भी कम पड़ेगा.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel this the way that it starts, right? I really love the fact that it seems like such a normal thing, and then suddenly you're like, oh my god, what is happening, right? And then even before they could move to the next scene in present day, which is somewhere in the 60s, and sorry, somewhere in the 60s, yeah, 60s.
63.
Immediately, you go to a flashback, like 20 years back, and then you're shown how Alison met Alec at work, and how she was hired for a job as an operator. Sorry, not translate, operator, yeah. And then how she meets Alec, who worked in the Secret Service. This क्या है वो MI5 ही था शायद ना, or was it
Something else, right?
It was the Secret Service for sure for UK around the time of the Second World War, right? And he asks her out for lunch after they've worked together for a while, and then their lunches become quite frequent, and he has already started sort of talking about she's aware that he's an author, and she's aware that he's married, so these are all things that she knows, but she still keeps meeting him. What did you guys think of her at this point? Like, did you guys start thinking that like, were y'all judging her at this point, or were y'all feeling like he is the wrong one, she isn't?
At that point, though, we didn't know much to judge them, right? It's just that the age difference was huge, and they also acknowledge that.
Yeah.
She's supposed to be very young, like 1920, right?
Yeah.
In that opening, in that scene.
Yeah, they're
So,
supposed to have a 25-year difference.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that stood out, but it's, I guess, वो time पे क्या ही देखते
Yeah.
थे. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Also, you
nothing
never
much.
really see, yeah, and you never really see his wife, right? So
Yeah.
that's, and however he talks about the wife, like, that she doesn't understand him and all those things. At that point, to me, it just felt like, okay, he's just lying to get her sympathy, and
Yeah.
that's what it seemed like. But yeah, and then one day you see that he's talking about how he thinks his wife is going to leave him, and all these kinds of conversations have happened. And then he takes her out one day on her uh, birthday, I think. Oh no, wait. Before that, there is a bombing. Correct? There's a bombing, and the place where Alison stays alone is hit, and she somehow manages to get out of there, and then she finds Alec, who takes her to his house, and after that is when I think they start meeting more frequently, and that's when like their relationship seems to get more serious than before. And he does say things like he's much older for her, and those kinds of things. But they seem to like each other, is what you feel, right? From their conversations, they're able to
Yeah.
understand each other in spite of the age difference. And yeah, that's when they that's when he takes her out on her birthday, and then he shows her his divorce paper, right? And after that is when I guess uh, maybe she starts feeling that, okay, he is serious about me. At least that's what it seems like to us, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it really seems like he divorced his wife for Alison. And I think, I mean, at that point, I did feel like, okay, maybe he is serious about her. But there is that one moment where he just um, looks. Does that happen during this date or the next date? I'm trying to remember. He just
The
looks
one thing
away from.
about his
Yeah.
portrayal is that he never looks disingenuous. He doesn't उसने जितना भी act whatever of Joram Ormont is shown in this, he doesn't look like he's lying. And I think he also believes that he is not
Yeah.
lying. He's
Yeah.
just providing for these, he thinks he's providing for these families and all of that. But I think that's a good portrayal of that character instead of being pure evil Sardar Khan ब्याह नहीं हुआ है, that kind of
Yeah.
he
That, yeah, that's true. And also, uh, this is something that we also hear someone else also say about him, right? That he started believing. I think it was Kareem's character.
Later, this comes later.
Yeah.
He started
So
believing his lies and sort of made that day his world.
yeah, I think
The
episode by
fantasy.
episode करना मुश्किल होगा मेरे लिए because everything is jumbled in my head because the
I know.
timelines went back and forth a lot.
Yes, and I actually really liked that. I know that when we start discussing it sounds a little muddled, but when you're
Yeah,
actually watching it, it's so engaging because the minute you're very close to finding out something, it goes to the flashback or it
Drops.
comes to the
Yeah.
present. Yeah. So it's like there are cliffhangers within one episode, right? So
yeah.
it's quite well done in terms of the editing. Um, but yeah,
आप
I
शुरू
was
में
yeah.
sorry, आप शुरू में कह रहे थे ना कि when he died and Ruth takes out that Mrs. Wilson takes out the wallet. So because the
Yeah.
show is titled Mrs. Wilson and as per your instructions, I did not read anything about it. My sense was कि because it's Mrs. Wilson, she's some sort of super spy or something, and she is like उसका कुछ reveal होगा if that wallet comes out, and she's sort of hiding अपने uska evidence and she's taking out the word because I don't know, मतलब the way she has acted मुझे वो शुरू से suspicious ही लगी है, the way she is acting nervous and all the time, right? So and Jorah Mormont can't do anything wrong up until that point in my books. So I'm sad that he died and that she's trying to hide something. Her interaction with her boys is very cold, like and that later we realize that's how she is. Like it's never warm, it's never outwardly motherly, and there's always that thoda distinction from whatever the way she has raised them, and apparently Alec was fatherly and boys liked his company more, or at least it is shown that they enjoyed his father's company, and she was just there, you know. She also is guilty that I did not participate in raising you properly. So she's always थोड़ा distant, थोड़ा cold character. तो मुझे उन पे शक ज़्यादा था कि there is something that she is trying to hide.
Yeah. Yeah, I can understand why you felt that way. Also because I suppose he seemed, as a father, he seemed more involved than
Exactly.
he did because she had to go work,
Mm-hmm.
you know, for the family, right? But
Mm-hmm.
coming back to you know, how they got together, Alec and Alison, he takes her to show her the Blakefield house, right? And then she says that she's pregnant. And that's when he asks her to marry him. And then later on, at a restaurant, he gives her a ring and proposes to her formally. And then for a moment,
Divorce papers and
हाँ वो तो होता है. And then he looks away for a minute towards the side. And the first time you watch it, you're like, why is he looking there? You're like, पता नहीं क्यों देख रहा है. But then you realize later why he was looking that side.
there's a
And his demeanor also changes the minute he looks that side. अचानक से वो distant हो जाता है, right? There's a change. So you actually, I did pick up on that कि something happened over here because he was being very, and then suddenly, oh, there is a big age difference between me and you. You have to think about yourself. ये सब बोलने लगता है अचानक से, which was a bit weird.
I know, and it's so good that they cut it right there, right? They don't show us what he was looking at or who he was looking at. So
And
that
even in
was like,
the right, even
Who
in the
was he looking
scene,
at? The third wife,
Dorothy,
Dorothy, yes,
the second wife.
the second
second wife.
one.
So even in the
डॉरथी
washroom scene
वो
where
कैसे
Dorothy,
अनुपम खेर कैसे सॉरी अनुपम खेर कैसे गंदा प्रोनाउंस कर रहा है
उसका एक्सेंट कुछ
उसको
अजीब है इसमें. क्या
डॉरथी
एक्सेंट है उसका? छी. It looked
इतना
like he was
अनोइंग था
doing a mix of Indian English accent, but ऐसा बीच में किधर तो टर्की में अटका. It's so weird.
anyway, so
Yeah.
what was I saying? क्या बोल रही थी मैं? हाँ,
You were
even in the
talking about,
scene, yeah, I was talking in the scene जब initially play out हो रहा है, and you see Alison go to the washroom. She has spilled champagne, right?
yeah.
And वहाँ पे somebody comes and asks her, "Are you okay, darling?" And you
Yeah,
know
yeah.
this character is not a side character,
Yeah,
but you don't
Yeah.
know who this
it's
is.
not a
You know,
throwaway
मतलब
character.
उसको
Yeah.
हाँ.
Yeah.
So it is
And that's the
there.
first time. That's the first time he had taken Allison out for lunch.
हाँ, पेन
सब
दिया
कुछ
ना,
शुरू भी
ऐसा
नहीं हुआ था.
हाँ.
हाँ.
And you know something is up because you know it's weird. It's just weird.
Yeah.
होता है ना, without saying anything you get those weird thing कि कुछ तो
Yeah.
है गड़बड़.
Cause even Allison notices her like on and off, right?
Yeah.
Whenever these two are on dates, she notices, okay, this woman is here. And the thing is, someone may not think too much about it, you know, because a lot of people who work around that area might be going to that place.
you see them
for
you see them
lunches.
around.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you may not think too much about it. But yeah, I love
Ash
the way they
mentioned
sort of bring it back. Yeah.
sorry, Ash mentioned he gave her a pen, and what a beautiful pen it was. One redeeming quality. He has good taste in stationery.
पैसा हो तो क्या कुछ नहीं हो सकता.
वो था भी नहीं पहले
We'll
उसके
come to
पास.
पैसा कब था उसके पास? We'll come to that. Where is the पैसा?
उस टाइम पे था, बाद में नहीं था, क्योंकि
मेरी ये कंफ्यूजन भी दूर करना कि कब था कब नहीं. We will come to timelines because I don't know. I am confused when he was
I am
broke and
very
when he
confused,
wasn't.
Yeah, I understand. I'm hoping the notes I have made will help. But meanwhile, coming back to what happens after Alec proposes to Alison, Alison has to go meet Coleman. And that's the first time we see Coleman, right? And we remember Coleman only from that phone call that she makes in the present day. In
I
the
had
60s,
not connected
right?
by that time. हाँ,
Okay.
क्योंकि सिर्फ
So
आवाज सुनी थी
she,
ना.
correct. So she goes to meet Coleman, who tells her that now that you're marrying him, you need to know certain things, that you can't talk about, his missions. We can't tell you where he's going exactly, and all these kinds of. I suppose it's a standard, rules, terms and conditions sort of a thing that she has to tell everybody who marries someone who's working for the Secret Service. And then she is made to sign an official Secrets Act. Right now, this is important for us to remember for later. So, moving on to back to the 60s, where Alec is dead, and while Alison is trying to figure out everything to do with his wake and whom to call and all those sort of things, a woman comes to her house, right? And she goes to the door, and she starts talking to her, and she's like, "Are you the landlady?" And she's like, "No, I'm his wife." And she's like, and she asks her, "Who are you?" And she says, "I'm his wife, Gladys Wilson." And that's the first jhatka that Alison has, right? That's the very
Yeah.
first one. And at that moment, I think everybody would have thought at that moment that, okay, this has something to do with his spy thing, yeah, something like that. Like, immediately, you will not think, ki, Arey, this guy, was a liar and those kinds of things. Because तुम्हें ये सब बताया गया है, you'll think like that. But then you see how upset Gladys is, and that's when you're like,
Yeah.
okay, where is this story going now? That's when you realize. And she just closes the door and goes in, and she doesn't say anything to anybody, right? Because she doesn't know what to do with that information. And then the next day, Gladys's son Dennis turns up, and he's like, "Give me my father's body." And then, somehow she manages to go out, and they go out to have some tea, and that's when they start talking about it. And he's like, and she's like, "Your father divorced your mother." And he's like, "No, he
She
never
would know
divorced
if
her."
she would know if she divorced. Sign
Yeah.
the papers.
Yeah, and like Alison is so convinced, right? She's like, she's deluding herself. She doesn't know what she's talking about, and all those things. And then he's like, okay, if whatever it is, we need his body because we have to do his funeral service and everything. And she can't do that. And then he's like, okay, give me proof. Because she says that she has seen the divorce paper, he asks for proof. So then she's like, okay, fine, I will look for proof. And she then goes to the marriage registration office, and she finds, I was like, kahan se awaaz aa rahi hai? Anyway, so then she goes to, she finds the registration of Alec and Gladys, and she asks them, is this couple, has this marriage been annulled? And she's like, no, I don't see any record of this. And that's when, it hits, hits you and it hits Alison that, okay, you know what? It looks like he had two wives. And because she does not want to tell her sons about this because they are already grieving and this is only going to make things worse, she uses her skills of faking documents and she manages to make a fake divorce paper, right? And it feels like at that moment it feels like what a stupid thing to do. Why don't you just tell them the truth, right? But then again, how will we ever know what it was like for her? Now instead of immediately showing us the reaction to this divorce paper of Dennis, we are taken back to the 40s. Now Alec and Alison have a son, the first son, Gordon is there. And at this point, Alec has to go on a mission. And he tells Alison that this mission involves him getting arrested. And it's a fake arrest. And they'll just have to go out for a stroll near a park or lake or something. And they'll just come arrest him. But she shouldn't worry because it's all a part of the plan. Now, here's where I want to know what you guys thought of
So
this whole
when
situation.
when he was arrested, when he was arrested, at that point, the officer, he was arrested for impersonating or wearing the uniform outside under false pretense.
Yeah.
And at that point, उसको पकड़ा जाता है, and he in his delusional state or in his delusional personality, Allison को बोल रहा है कि don't worry, everything will be fine, this that, and the officer is really agitated. The officer says, no, it's not, you are going to prison. And वो जिस officer का जो reaction था, that was very telling to me, because that is when I
Yeah.
thought कि कुछ तो गड़बड़ है ये, मतलब अगर false pretense होता तो ऐसे तो नहीं बोलता है, ये तो ओवर एक्टिंग
Yeah,
मेरे
it was
टाइम
a
कर
very
रहा है,
aggressive arrest, very
Yeah.
aggressive arrest, and
ज्यादा ही हो
someone
गया
who
ये,
means to arrest
right,
you for
right.
something you have done.
Somebody who's really pissed off at you, वो दिख रहा था कि you
Yeah.
are really pissed off at you, and that was very weird. And then I was very curious about what charge is he arrested on, because तब तक समझ नहीं आ रहा था क्यों अरेस्ट हुआ है. एंड नेक्स्ट शॉट में वो दिखाते हैं वो न्यूज़पेपर में पूरा आर्टिकल जिसका हेडलाइन वाज दिस कॉट अंडर, बिकॉज आई वाज पियरिंग एट माय स्क्रीन टू फिगर आउट कि क्यों अरेस्ट हुआ है ये, मुझे बहुत उसमें आई वाज इंट्रिग्ड.
Yeah.
So that is
And
why
it's
that
such a
makes me,
terrible, yeah, and it's such a terrible situation for Allison, right? At that point, because she doesn't know what to do. He hasn't
at that
really
point
told
उसने अपने
her.
मॉम को बोल रखा है ना कि दे लिव बाय देमसेल्व्स, कि उसके
क्या
बाद
Yeah.
बोलता है.
साड़ा है ना, लेकिन ये पहले ही बोल रखा है
हाँ,
कि ऐसा ऐसा
you
होगा. It's not him covering up his lies.
exactly,
He is predicting what is going to happen, so he
he
pre-lied.
knows
Yeah.
it's going to
That
happen,
is
उसने
Yeah.
बोल दिया था.
that is very convincing. If I am a spouse, तो हम हाँ बोला तो था.
बोला तो
हाँ.
था.
Because you still trust your partner, right? You are like कि हाँ मतलब क्यों
Very
झूठ
shady
बोलेगा,
there.
मुझसे तो
Yeah.
नहीं बोलेगा.
Yeah. And
उससे पहले
he keeps waiting
Can you-
for him, right? After this. And that is so sad because she keeps waiting and then she goes to Coleman also, and Coleman's like, I can't do anything, I can't help you, and all of that. And then after a really long time, he comes back. And the fact that she didn't know how long he was gone for and all those things is such a terrible way of living for her, right?
एंड शी इज ट्राइंग टू
So
चेस कोलमैन की अब ये वॉर खत्म हो गई है इजिप्ट में, अब तो वापस आना चाहिए द नॉर्थ
yeah,
अफ्रीकन फ्रंट। शी इज डूइंग ऑल दैट स्टफ, राइट? क्यों नहीं आया है? ट्रेन के स्टेशन के बाहर वेट
yeah.
करी और समथिंग लाइक दैट।
Diljit, what were you
इससे
saying?
पहले can you clarify? So when she is when she goes to the registrar office and is
Yeah,
trying to find the real divorce papers or whether they exist or not,
yeah,
she plucks out another person's divorce to make a copy of it, right?
Yeah,
yeah,
some other
yeah,
From
Wilson.
the file, she
she does because
not
she
I
needs
think
the
some other
format.
Wilson. She needs the format. तो I'm in my
Yeah.
head thinking कि कल को उसको जरूरत पड़ेगी तो अब उसकी फाइल में भी नहीं है, like this person that she stole.
That is the part 2 of the series. They will
Wow.
hide.
ये
And
चलता ही जाएगा
and
भाई।
I'm thinking,
People are making fake
Dil-
divorce copies.
Diljit is
Legit have
Diljit
this.
is worried कि वो मुसद्दी लाल का डिवोर्स पेपर तो नहीं था, ऑफिस वाला।
and I'm thinking, और दूसरा, did she try, because obviously they show us the process of her typing, erasing and typing and making it good enough. Does she make changes to the paper that she has brought out? Like does she create a new one? Because I'm thinking at that point,
Make changes.
this should be an old paper, and
हाँ, ये मुझे भी
like it
दिखा
would
था,
look
काफी
only
crisp था।
authentic. It would look only authentic if it is like crumpled and very old in terms को paper रखा रहता है तो quality में फर्क पड़ता है ना. If it is just a new printout or a new typewriter out printout, तो वो already doubt होगा. तो उसका like did she edit that old one only?
She edited the old one.
She did.
उसने पहले आयोडीन से इंक उड़ाया, फिर उसको डाल के उसके
Yeah.
नाम चेंज किया।
ओ ऐसा किया उसने?
So that paper.
हाँ। See, अगर
वही
तुम्हें
मुझे
ये
थोड़ा
सारी बातें
confusion
सुन के
था.
ऐसा लग रहा हो कि मैंने कभी फॉर्जिंग की है तो तुम शायद राइट होगे।
मैंने वो वाला ट्रिक यूज किया है। लाइक आई यूज्ड टू मेक ऐसा ओल्ड, बहुत नर्ड था मैं मैप ड्रॉ करता था और उसको पुराना दिखाने के लिए आई यूज्ड टू स्प्लैश कॉपी ऑन इट। तो
There
ऐसा
may or
क्रम्पल
may not
करके
be legal
यार
consequences involved. We will speak to this after. हम रिकॉर्ड कर रहे हैं क्या इसको?
हाँ
Course,
ऐश
In presence of a lawyer, that's it.
हाँ,
ऐश
रिकॉर्डिंग के
मुझे
बाद
लग रहा
बात
है
करेंगे।
मुझे लग रहा है हम में से पोटेंशियल सिर्फ तेरे ही पास है।
सही में
तभी मैं इतने प्यार से
We
तुम्हें
have
बता
made
रही हूँ कि ये कैसे करेंगे इस
we have
टॉपिक
made
कनाडा के साथ
Ayushi
एक्सट्रेडिशन
and
ट्रीटी है क्या अपना?
नहीं, मगर मैं ये बोल सकती हूँ कॉन्फिडेंटली, ये सारा का सारा काम बस एक कारण हुआ है। वो शिट, तो मैं भूल चुकी थी। ये सारा जो किया था वो इसलिए किया था क्योंकि रेंट अग्रीमेंट और इनकम टैक्स से रिलेटेड है। ये
Oh
सारा
gosh.
Oh my God.
keep talking.
Oh my God.
I think
I will not.
Sumit
If I
Shetty has a
speak,
lot of work to do. He
Yes.
will
if
have
I speak, I'll
to.
be in trouble.
Yeah. This is cold open.
Oh.
This is not going in the middle or something. ये तो स्टार्टिंग में है।
मैं क्यों बोलती हूँ? मुझे कहाँ से चीजें याद आती है? आई हैव नो आइडिया मैंने कहाँ रिप्रेस मेमोरी थी ये।
I will take you back to Mrs. Wilson so that
हाँ,
you
please do that.
stop
So
confessing
confessing
on
to
your
crimes and everything यहाँ पे।
So,
But Nandini, when does
divorce-
that happen? Where she goes and visits him in the jail? In timeline.
yeah. In the timeline, we will come to that because that happens after the second son also is born, right? So right now we are just
Okay. That's another arrest. Okay, that's
Yeah,
a different arrest.
That's a different arrest.
Yeah.
So at this
One thing
point,
about
Yeah.
when Gladys first enters and that whole thing happens कि I'm his wife, तब तक मेरे को लगता है इसका मिसेस विल्सन क्या रखा है शो का नाम, क्या पॉइंटलेस नाम है इसका. Like they could have come up with something creative. When that happened, I'm like, oh, now I know why it's called Mrs.
Okay.
Wilson.
and वो ना ऐसा टाइटल ना ऐसे 4 बार फेड होता है, 4 मिसेस विल्सन.
Nice observation.
Nice.
wow.
And सारे बेटे ही है इसलिए विल्सन, no, will not daughter.
Daughters हैं इसकी
हाँ,
real life में, but
I prefer Ayushi wala.
Yeah, that's much more sensible. Yeah. I also prefer Aishi wala.
But coming back to divorce papers, so Alison goes to Gladys's house and Gladys refuses to meet her. Dennis talks to Alison and she shows him, the paper. And while she is in that house, she notices a lot of his things, right? His typewriter, his pipe. She even finds letters that he wrote to Gladys, and that's another point where you see her expression very clearly of feeling betrayed. And then, even though she's feeling that way, she's still trying to make sure that she and her family, they get to do his burial service for the sake of her sons. Now, Dennis is not convinced when he takes a look at the divorce papers, right? So then finally, they make an arrangement, and he says that it's fine if they do a wake. So Alison and her sons can do a wake at their church, but after that, she should bring his body to Gladys and family because they want to bury him, near their house. And she agrees because she doesn't have a choice. So that's exactly what they do. And she tells her sons that the woman who had come to our house is your father's cousin, and I just don't like her, and all those things. And then they go for the burial, and you see how disturbed Gladys is as well, right? You don't know much about Gladys, but she looks disturbed, if not more, as Alison is. And then she just asks Dennis if Alec ever stayed the night, right? And that is so, my God, that minute she asks that, no, you're like, oh my God, what is she trying to find out? Why did she ask him that? And he just says no, and she's so relieved to hear that. It almost feels like he lied to her because you know he
अच्छा बंदा
doesn't
था
know.
वो.
Huh? Even though he was in such an odd place, he still managed to say no at that point, even if that, I don't know if that was true or not. And then she just sits there and she just says that, it looks like she says she wants to be alone.
Nandini,
She's just sitting.
my interpretation of it was he did not lie because of the quick response that he gives. He says it very quickly that no, he didn't. And to me, it looked like that's why he was angry at her initially. This is why my father never stayed at home. This is the
हाँ.
woman he was going back to. So that's why I think he's being completely honest, but he's angry at her to be kind of the homewrecker at that point, according to him.
But yeah, okay. I can buy that, but I can buy the fact that he didn't lie. But I don't know if he ever saw her. I don't know. To me, it felt like he was looking at her as a woman who's just been, kept in the
Dennis
dark.
was by far the most compassionate of like उसके age के कारण या whatever
Yeah, he
he
looked
came across.
older than her also, right?
Yeah, almost. I think
He
he
looked close to her age actually,
her
Yeah.
right?
age exactly. So he seemed like he could understand the position, and he says at a point, right? I don't hate my dad. I understand. Like I after all this, I still, as a
Yeah,
dad, I like him, and something he says, right? So
yeah, he
he
does.
has
I
that thing.
Yeah.
I agree with Chinmay's assessment because I had bought the PBS subscription to watch it legally, unlike some criminals that are on this call. and उसमें subtitles में it shows so Gladys wife number 1 with Wilson, it's always homewrecker Wilson and then her dialogues.
Okay.
Yeah. तो चिन्मय
Take that
caught on
with
to
a
that.
jar of
She is the
salt,
home.
not pencil. ठीक है?
PBS में आ रहा है वो भी अमेरिकन.
हाँ, jar of salt के साथ ये
I wish I could take screenshots. They don't let you.
Jar of
You'll
salt.
have to speak on it.
That's what stopping us. Yeah.
So at the burial service,
I
after
think at that
everybody,
time at burial service she was trying to justify everything. So ultimately throughout the series, ठीक है ना, throughout the 3 episodes, Alison का एक ही trope है. Hook or crook, justify what happened, who is Mr. Wilson, and why did he do what he did, right? She is finding ways to ways, trying to figure out क्या हुआ, but she's coming from a place that he's not a bad person. I know him. She keeps repeating that, right? And she's trying to reinforce that कि I know him. जो हुआ उसके कारण कुछ तो reason होगा जो मुझे समझ नहीं आया है, ठीक है ना? I'm giving him the benefit of doubt. And देखो, he didn't sleep with her, but there was some reason why he had to come back to her. And he probably loved his sons too much, so he came back. वो अपने आप को justifications देती जा रही है through the reason.
correct.
मुझे समझ
Yeah.
आया, right?
Can you
Yeah.
explain why Gladys refused to meet her when she's in their house? Is it just simple उसने मेरे को अपने घर में नहीं बुलाया and she
He
turned
was
me
pissed
away?
off.
So now I
I don't
don't
think so.
want
I
to
think
see her.
she's too heartbroken. She's in shock. She's too heartbroken.
Because I mean, if you think about it, Gladys has been with Alec much longer, right, than Alison.
Much longer.
Yeah,
And it is now becoming real to her also that he did
Yes.
have a second wife because पहले she was just thinking कि this lady is just the landlady of the house, right? So अभी
Landlady
it
नहीं,
has
and
become
then
very clear.
she also then for
Yeah.
later पहले तो she comes as a landlady. Then she probably thinks कि her husband has an affair with somebody. ठीक है ना?
Yeah.
And वो eventual
Not
shock
wife.
not wife and
Yeah.
not the entire
Yeah.
serial
Also, don't
polygamist.
forget that Gladys has been married to him since he was, in India, right? So, she
right.
has been away from him for a very long time. She has taken care of her sons all by herself for a very long time.
Son's
So
daughter,
for
everything.
her, it will seem like a much bigger betrayal because it's been going on for so many years. So, I mean,
She was angry at the funeral.
yeah, and she is older, right? She's
Stop.
obviously
Yeah.
closer to Alex's age. So, dealing with this kind of a trauma after having, brought up two adult sons, and I mean, who themselves probably will have their families soon. I mean, it's a little crazy for you to hear something like that. But coming back to the burial service, Alison asks to be alone for a bit, right? And she's facing the spot where he has been buried, and she's looking down, and that's when a man approaches her from behind, and he says he offers his condolences, and he addresses her as Dorothy, right? And at that time, she turns around, she removes her veil, and it's very clear to him that that is not Dorothy. And he just says, "I'm sorry," and he leaves. And she is so confused, and that is where the first episode ends. So, I mean, if you needed a cliffhanger, this was it. I liked how this episode ended because she is just recovering from knowing that he had one other wife, and now
So
she was
basically,
called by some other woman's name.
Dorothy.
Yeah.
किसी को अब अनुपम खेर के बारे में कुछ बोलना है? Please बोलो. उसके कैरेक्टर के बारे में।
चूतिया था वो।
मैक्स शेडी मैक्स अनोइंग।
वीएम को ऐड करो कॉल पे।
Before we move on, I
Right.
have a point, Nandini. When
I give
Zahir or
sorry.
what is his name? Kareem.
एलेक।
Kareem.
अच्छा।
No, no. तो वो जब फ्यूनरल पे जाता है, he actually mistakes her for his मतलब वो एलेक्स की daughter, right? That's how the conversation starts. And then she says that I'm not his daughter, I'm his wife.
Then he says
So,
Dorothy.
then he says Dorothy. So I was very confused at that point in time if Dorothy is his daughter or is his wife.
Yeah.
But he is never shown to have a daughter, right?
Exactly. So एक daughter हो सकती है क्या? क्योंकि और अभी तक जितने भी वाइफ मिले सब तो सन ही है।
नहीं, मेरे को तो डाउट भी नहीं हुआ।
मुझे तब
I
वो
was
डाउट हुआ
like,
एंड में कि when they actually show all the sons, right?
हम्म।
Daughter कहीं नहीं थी. They have never discovered that he had a daughter.
Oh,
So
नहीं, in
when
real life
Kareem
तो
said that,
are you talking about real life or this? I'm now getting confused.
both. Actually,
Real life में he has daughters.
why would Kareem, who was the most vocal advocate of how Alex was a good resource, know that he has a daughter?
Because he has a daughter.
Exactly.
और वो Gladys has a daughter. So Gladys मतलब
हाँ क्या?
हाँ, रियल लाइफ में ग्लैडिस की डॉटर है, जस्ट FYI।
I thought both had sons only.
नहीं, विकी में अगर तुम चेक करोगे तो ही हैज डॉटर्स एज वेल। वो बस सीरीज में नहीं दिखाई है।
तो सीरीज में तो that means, अच्छा, that's why he must have mistaken her for the daughter.
वो ग्लैडिस की डॉटर उसने सोचा होगा।
ग्लैडिस की बेटी है
बट
बेसिकली।
उससे
There's a
पहले वो
Daphne
डॉक्टर वाला भी
Wilson.
आता है ना।
Yep.
एक डॉटर है, बाकी सारे सन्स हैं।
सॉरी दिलजीत, क्या बोल रहे हो?
वो डॉक्टर वाला भी, वेयर डज दैट हैपन इन दिस सीन? वो डॉक्टर भी एक आता है ना कि आई न्यू ही वाज अ वेरी गुड हॉस्पिटल
वो
में।
तो वहीं पर आता है
he was
जब
a-
फ्यूनरल चल रहा होता है।
अच्छा, इन द वेक और इन द फ्यूनरल?
फ्यूनरल
इन
जब वो लोग वहां पर
इन
होते
द
हैं, जब तक
वेक,
उन्होंने
नहीं इन द
ओके
वेक।
आई थिंक इन द वेक। हाँ, जब वो अपने चर्च में होती
चर्च
है,
में
लाइक
होता
हर
है।
लोकल
दैट इज वेक। हाँ, वहीं पर।
In the wake,
Okay.
a man comes up to her and he says that Alec had worked with him at the hospital. Alison is confused at that point, but she just sort of,
Also,
goes
And
along.
what I noticed was कि उस टाइम पे एक पैटर्न बन रहा है। Everyone who's not Mrs. Wilson is praising him. Like everyone has good things to say about him. Now, sure, you talk nice about the person, people who have died, but in general also, like nobody, and she herself also thought, I'm thinking very highly of him. So at this point, everyone is praising, and that has started to bother her as she's discovering his infidelities and more layers too, and that is frustrating her कि maybe क्या है, like is he good, is he not, और वो सब।
Like from her point of view, for majority of the series, it looks like ये पता नहीं होता ना मैं खुश होती। That she has that kind of attitude towards every fact she finds, and she still wants to find it because she does not want to live in that lie also. But she's getting unhappy with each secret she finds, and it's truly heartbreaking to see her go through that.
Yeah, and it's also the frustration of, was my whole life a lie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that also,
It's kind of like
yes, it was.
It's a kind of like Matrix in a way, right? Like imagine you are
Please
living in a
explain
happy
to me.
world. Like you are
Please
living in
explain.
a
10 marks,
happy,
please explain.
perfect world. थोड़ा imperfection से but चलता है. You are very happy, and then like Morpheus type Mrs. दूसरी Mrs. Wilson आती है, opens you into the rabbit hole of a new, and she literally goes down this rabbit hole. Shit यार, इसका PPT बनाना चाहिए. And she finds out things about her world which are which were just embellishments, as a gilding, like gold plating on a shit cake that was served to her throughout her whole life, and all the suffering that she went through, and everything. She thought it was worth it because he's a good husband, good father, and everything. मैं जब वो भी नहीं है, तो क्या रहेगा
But
मेरे
you
पास?
know,
So
but you
the
know what?
foundation of her life is destroyed. So it's very
Yeah.
like that's kind of a that's how I compare it to Matrix, because तुम्हारा world ही टूट गया है ना. The simulation is gone. Now what are you left with?
Yeah.
It's like everybody talks about him being a good father, a good spy, or whatever, a good author
Yeah.
also. But nobody talks about how shitty a husband he was to more than one woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
सीरीज बनानी पड़ी उसके लिए.
Equating him to Sardar Khan again, him saying कि अल्लाह ताला ने कहा था 4 बीवियां चलती हो. So he went all in.
But four are the four wives were we what we know. असल में तो वो एंड में दिखाते हैं ना that M16 is still not ready to redact the actual file.
उसके विकी में तो 4 ही पता है.
हाँ, because that's how उतने ही सामने आए हैं.
उतने ही सामने आए, करेक्ट.
Yeah, that's true. That is not something that we know. But I mean, after that cliffhanger in episode 1, right? Episode 2 starts with Alison going through all old things of Alex. Yeah, from pictures to all sorts of things. And that's when she finds a picture of Dorothy, right? And she doesn't know who she is at that point, but she does recognize her probably very vaguely because she has seen her a few times, and she did see her at the funeral, at the wake also. She noticed her, but then she left before the service was done, so she couldn't really talk to her. But she goes to Coleman and she asks her about,
Excuse me? Somebody just
India.
forgot the passport and boarding pass on the table.
Oh shit.
Somebody's just forgotten their passport and boarding pass.
चुरा लो.
यहाँ अलग
फोर्स करना, ऐश को देना.
It was Wilson. He was the one who forgot.
यहाँ पे भाई अलग ही चल रहा है कहानी.
बोला मतलब
Patail
हर
Detective
जगह
Agencies.
रेवा ही अलर्ट रहती है, सबको करेक्ट वही कर रही है.
क्या?
किसका पासपोर्ट भूल गया था कहाँ पे?
अरे मेरे बाजू के टेबल पे किसी का पासपोर्ट एंड बोर्डिंग पास ऐसे ही रखा हुआ था, तो मैं जाके काउंटर पे देके आई. रिपब्लिक ऑफ कोरिया. इज दैट नॉर्थ कोरिया और साउथ कोरिया?
साउथ.
साउथ
नॉर्थ वाले कहाँ जा सकते हैं?
देश के बाहर है तो
नॉर्थ वालों को पासपोर्ट भी मिलता है.
नॉर्थ वालों को बस दिखा देते हैं और बोलते हैं यही फ्लाइट है.
Oh God.
नॉर्थ वालों का वर्ल्ड इज शेडियर देन व्हाट एलेक क्रिएटेड.
उनका डेमोक्रेटिक पीपल रिपब्लिक ऑफ कोरिया है.
रिपब्लिक किस? हाँ, ओके.
गाइस, अगर ये वीडियो किसी नॉर्थ कोरियन ने देख लिया, ओ शिट, उनके पास तो
उनके पास
तुम्हें नॉर्थ कोरिया को मार लिया हमने. कोई तो
एक स्पाई सीरीज में इवेंट्स भी स्पाई वाले हो रहे हैं.
एक्चुअली
सोचिए अगर ये नॉर्थ कोरिया का होता तो व्हाट स्टोरी कुड हैव बीन. और गायब है अपना पासपोर्ट एंड बोर्डिंग पास
बनता हमारा यहाँ एक नया.
maybe they were just trying to discard and escape and
मिस्टर
पटेल बनता. सॉरी. कुछ और
ऐसे 4 मिस्टर पटेल निकलेंगे अलग अलग देश में.
एक निकल जाए तो भी
उनमें से काश पटेल होगा. FBI डायरेक्टर काश पटेल, एक पटेल.
You know, when I was watching this series, I kept thinking, I'm so glad this is not an Indian series, because then it would have been Ghar Wali Bahar Walis. Because
Barwalis.
Barwalis.
because
Yep.
ऐसे ही नाम रखेंगे ना यहाँ तो.
किस किसको प्यार
Made it a
करूं का
very
sequel होगा.
dignified
किसको प्यार
Mrs.
करूं.
Wilson and
ऐसे ही कुछ तो अजीब नाम रखे.
Definitely.
Coming back to Mrs. Wilson.
Yes, please, coming back.
Thank you.
So, the Alison goes to Coleman and she asks her about Alex's time in India and if he knew someone there and all those kinds of things. And she just warns her, saying, for the sake of your sons, their
Don't.
careers or whatever, don't dig more into this. So she just leaves. But when she reaches her home, she sees that her older son Gordon is typing a letter to the government asking them if they would get the possession of the Blakefield house, which Alec had said was theirs.
Bravo.
Families.
And she signs it and posts it, and she obviously does remember the time when she had seen that place because Alec had taken her there. And he had just said that, oh, the government is just using it as a hospital for now. But, eventually we will be living there. And that's like the biggest false promise or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Because at every given point, even when they were in such terrible conditions, he would say, oh, eventually we're going to go live there and all that. My God, I think that lie bothered me more than any other lie.
Because there was no need for that, right?
Yeah, absolutely no need.
Actually, I don't know, I can't remember when did this lie begin. I can't remember कि पहली बार वो कब बोलता है.
वहां पे तो
But
जैनिटर का काम कर रहा था ना वो,
हाँ,
या
वो तो
ऐसा ही
कर रहा
कुछ
था.
काम कर
But
रहा था.
my question is कि did this begin क्योंकि Alison's mom did not like the guy. He thought that he's a crook and a liar.
बेस्ट
Right?
कैरेक्टर, she found him out कि ऐसा देखते ही पहचान लूंगा, that
हाँ.
kind.
And she insisted. So is it in front of her during lunch that he says that हमारा एक
No,
He
business
might have to
है?
show up.
No, the first time he takes her there is the day when
I
she
can't
tells
remember
him
that.
that she's pregnant
हाँ.
and he asks her
अच्छा,
to marry
Oh,
him.
okay,
And
तब वो बताता है फिर.
I'm thinking कि
तब
वो भी
वो
कितना
उसकी
daring है कि उसे बिल्कुल वहां ले जाता है कि ये ना ये रहा,
Yeah.
this is the building, I own it. बिल्कुल पास में, and he makes some excuse कि अच्छा वो है नहीं वार्डन या जो भी, and चलो पिकनिक करते हैं. Like he made it so real ना. वो अगर कभी लेके नहीं गया होता, she would have had doubts. बट वो उसको बिल्कुल वहां लेके गया कि हाँ मैं तुझे अपनी वो बिल्डिंग दिखाता हूँ and all of that.
और तब तक के वो एलिसन की मॉम से नहीं मिला था.
नहीं मिला था. Yeah.
Right? At least that's what we are shown कि नहीं मिला था.
He was
But
just a gaslighter. That's what he was. वो
Yeah,
शुरू
yeah.
से ही मतलब उसे कुछ तो दिखाना था, इम्प्रेस करना था this younger woman कि मेरे पास तो बहुत पैसा है and all of that.
गाड़ी है,
Yeah.
पैसा है.
but
But
you
he
know,
is pursuing them also, ना. अगर वो सिर्फ like for the lack of other word fuckboy होता, they wouldn't come back and raise children with these women.
That
I
is
think he
the
did that
sort of
because
his layered.
नहीं, he has that Catholic guilt also because he is not going to divorce, and that guilt maybe led to him going
Was
back,
that because
and
he was Catholic or was that because his wife refused? Because
he
she is
was
a Catholic.
Catholic, right?
No, he's
That's why.
he's Catholic. She was not a believer. He was a proper Catholic person.
Okay.
so back to the 60s, and she's asking her son to go on a vacation with her because she wants to get away from that place. But he has plans with his friends. So then she decides to go to the house where they first lived, where she first lived with Alec. And she meets the landlord and she asks that landlord about, asks him if there was someone who lived or met Alec at that house. And that's when she gets to know that before Alison moved there, Alec used to live there with Dorothy, right? And she vaguely remembers seeing her from the window talking to Alec, and she didn't know who she was, and I suppose she never questioned Alec at that point. But now, she finds out from the landlord that she used to live there, and he also said that she was his wife, and that's again one more jhatka for her. And then when she's asking for more details, the landlord claims that, they still owe him money. So then she pays him. And that's when she shows him the photo, right? Dorothy's photo. And he says that, yeah, this is Dorothy and she was married to him and all of that. And then he goes through some old receipts and he finds an address, and she asks him more about more things, but that's all that he knows. And he asks about Alec, and the minute she says that he's no more, this bloody Buddha makes a pass at her. I'm like, oh my god, what is wrong with these people? Thankfully, she leaves soon. And then,
Talking about passes, older men making passes at her.
yeah.
At any point, did it occur to you that the priest has some ulterior motives? I don't know. It's just their acting or what. मतलब उनका interaction भी मुझे काफी awkward लगा कि कहीं ना कहीं वो उसका अरे अब ये विधवा हो गई है, now is my chance to swoop in or whatever. Nothing like that happened, but वो कभी ना कभी मुझे ये भी doubt रहा कि ये भी कुछ, he just turns out to be a very good priest to say and guides her properly and all of that.
मुझे at any
मुझे वो
point ऐसा
फर्स्ट एपिसोड में मुझे वो
मुझे
फर्स्ट
तो
एपिसोड में
नहीं
लगा थोड़ा सा
हाँ शुरू में तो लगा था
थोड़ा सा
yeah.
I don't know. I didn't feel
But again,
that at all.
he's Sir Barristan Salmi, so I did not, I
Yeah.
should not have doubted his integrity at all.
I think
I felt
her
he was just doing
interaction
his job. I felt he was just doing his job. Also, when you're familiar with the people who live in your neighborhood, right? I mean, there's a sense of comfort also. So maybe it's just a familiarity thing.
I sort of thought that because her husband was very religious and she was
Yeah.
never I don't think we came across as religious. She was struggling with dealing with the facts about her husband and how he was still considered as a good person. You remember that scene where he is वो neighbor पे गुस्सा कर देती है कि how does everybody
कि तू
keep saying
बार-बार
that he's
अच्छा
a
क्यों
good
बोल रहा है?
man?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I thought. Okay, that's why he kept talking to the priest, trying to make sense.
Yeah. We were talking about Father Timothy. Is Deval still there?
I'm here. I'm talking about him only. I think she was talking to him to
Okay.
get a sense of कि बंदा religious है, but the more she digs and more information she finds, so her struggle was with that. So she was trying to. There's an internal struggle also with her. कि
Yeah.
Plus,
Yeah,
it
that's
could
true.
be कि she is, he must have, Alec as a Catholic must have spent a lot of time in the church. And the father would know him better than she knows. उसके दिमाग में ये भी आ सकता है कि I don't know this person. Maybe the father has interacted with him more. ना? क्योंकि at some point, Father Timothy makes a statement to the boys कि boys, we might still turn her into a Catholic. So he's very comfortable with the family. Probably knows them a lot from their visits to the church and whatnot. So
इनका
Yeah.
religion, was she Protestant? Sorry, मैं थोड़ा बीच में बाहर था.
She was
I got very confused
non-believer of
about.
sorts. No,
No, she
I
नहीं,
think
said
she was
because Catholic,
non-believer.
she was
if
Yeah.
he is Catholic and she mentioned religion, I think
Yeah.
the other option would be she is Protestant, so
That's
that's a big
Protestant.
clash during that time.
That's what I figured, that she's
So
a
what is
Protestant.
Church of England? Is because she said that our family is
Catholic.
from Church of England.
The Church of England is
Church
not
of
Catholic.
England
Catholic is Roman Catholic. Church of England is
uh,
उनका लोग उधर का
Protestant,
ही
I
है.
think.
बाद में भी she goes to a क्या बोलते हैं, she goes to a Servite house or whatever, but I don't, but that is मतलब पूरा Catholic only, but उससे पहले
Protestant है.
उससे
Protestant.
पहले
It is
वो
a Protestant
Protestant,
church that.
yeah,
Yeah.
बाद में लेकिन वो Catholic,
And that could be one friction between Mrs. Wilson's mother not liking him
She
because he's a
says
Catholic. So that's
yeah,
all.
she
she
says
says
that
this.
also in a way, yeah.
Okay.
He asks
That does
her.
come up, yeah, correct. But you know, since we were at Dorothy's topic, so Alison goes to find Dorothy because she finds the address, right? And Dorothy is shocked to see her, and she's concerned because her son will be home soon. And Alison just insists on talking to her, and she asks her if she was also part of the Secret Service. Is that how they knew each other and
Actually,
all those things?
sorry, I'm totally sidetracked now. So there is Catholic, there's Protestant, and this is Anglican, which is somewhere in between
Mm.
Protestant and Catholic. Anglican is Church of England, where they wanted to, move away from Latin as the language of church and stuff like that.
Mm. I'm also reading that it is the Protestant church is also known as the Anglican church. So maybe they're more leaning Protestant leaning than Catholic leaning.
Yep. Sorry,
Yep.
totally sidetracked. Sorry, Nandini, continue.
No, good to know. I didn't look it up, but I just assumed कि Protestant होगी.
Likewise.
But yeah. So yeah, she's trying to figure out what kind of a relationship they had, and she's trying to confirm if they were really in love or was it just a part of their job. And when Dorothy says that they were in love with each other, she then wants to know more. So then Dorothy tells her side of the story, and she says that she even after they were together, she used to follow him, Alec, to see what he was up to, and she did see him with Alison many
Outside
times.
the
Yeah,
yeah.
and that the first time they had a meal, she saw, and then obviously that's when she met Alison in the ladies' room as well, and she thought that she was just uh, thinking too much about it or whatever, but she still confronts him that very night, the first time uh, she sees Alec with Alison, and Alec just says that she's a colleague, I've told you about her, and I just took her out for a meal, that's it. But she is not convinced still, right? Dorothy talks about that, and um, she constantly feels like he is sort of lying to her. And I really like that scene where after he goes back home, after his first sort of date with Allison, he goes back home and he says, "What are you doing in the dark?" And then he switches on the light. I'm like, oh my god, just like metaphor, she's in the
Oh yeah,
I
you're
found,
right. मेरे को
yeah.
strike नहीं किया. Nice.
Speaking of metaphors, I really liked when Mrs. Wilson, जो हमारी leading lady है, she visits that hospital, and that nurse is talking about the childhood and his fascination with stories and all.
Yeah.
And she asked him, "Did he
Yeah.
continue with fiction?" And I'm like, "You have no
Yes,
idea."
yes,
Honestly,
I have
it
written
was such a
those
good line.
dialogues down because
It
I
was
wanted
so
to talk
beautiful.
about them. It was very good. Some dialogues are so good. But yeah, you know, Dorothy is at this point she's not convinced, right? So she keeps you know, wanting to follow him. Meanwhile, because at that time, if you remember, there were this is the Second World War time, right? So because of all the bombings and everything, Alex somehow manages to convince her to go to her mother's house with their son, which she agrees to. But then she has a doubt. So she leaves her son, she comes back, and she keeps following Alec. Now that's when, you know, at one point she sees that he proposes, right? And that's the scene that we were talking about earlier, where he looks away for a minute, away from Alison, and the person he was looking at was Dorothy, and she looks at that and she leaves. And that night, after that date, when Alec goes home, he finds Dorothy there packing her bags, and she hits him, and he asks her to hit him again, which I was like, is this some sort of a,
हाँ
you know, I'm like, तुम्हें मजा आ रहा है? क्या हो रहा है?
सेडिस्ट वो नहीं डैन
तुम्हें
ब्राउन के
मजा
बुक्स में मारते रहते हैं वही मुझे लगा
तुम्हें
ये
मजा
क्या
आ रहा है
Oh my God, now that I'm reading Sumit's comment, uh, he means Buddha. But you know what's funny? I was watching an interview of Ruth Wilson where she spoke about how some of his colleagues in MI5 used to call him Buddha because of how
wow.
calm he used to seem. I'm like, oh my God, that seems so odd for a person like this. But yeah, I mean, after that, Dorothy says that she's just going to leave him. And when you know, Alison says that, but you did come back and you did ask him for money and all of that, and she just says that that was just one time, and he barely gave me.
$5
Yeah,
$5
yeah.
रुपया ₹5 दिया उसने
And she said that she just hated him and she just didn't want anything to do with him, and that's why she just left him, right? And
Who?
Dorothy,
Dorothy हाँ
yeah, she says that she
yeah
just leaves him, and then you
at
know,
this point are you believing Dorothy's, like, everything that Dorothy is saying, or do you have some doubts about her story as well?
no, I didn't have any doubts because I felt that, you know, we did see her a bunch of times. We did, even Alison herself saw her many times. We also saw Dorothy at the funeral. So I felt it fits. You know, everything fits in terms of whatever she is saying, right?
The reason
And
I'm
then,
saying is because this is abhi tak we are only hearing good things about from other people, at least good things about Alec. And this is the first time she's
yeah,
meeting a person who hates him.
yeah,
Yes, she's talking to the wife. Obviously, all the wives were mistreated.
mm,
But so I'm thinking ki, is there something else going on? And because वही है कि unreliable narrator वाला एक रहता है ना कि you're asking people and then they're giving their own account of how things happened. One person giving. So I was like, हाँ, मतलब how much to
I
trust and all.
understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand what you mean, but I did believe Dorothy, and I also believed it because she then goes on to say how she didn't tell her son about him because she told him that he died in 1942 itself, because she did not want to say things like, oh, you know, he's in the city, he's working, and you know, all of
Yeah. He
that.
just erased
Because
him. Yeah.
yeah, because she couldn't bear the betrayal. And during this conversation, um, what Alison discovers is that Alec lied to Dorothy, saying Gladys was his sister.
yeah
Sister.
but she does not correct him
Yeah.
She
Her.
doesn't tell Dorothy the truth because
Yeah.
I suppose
Yeah.
she also wasn't sure if she can trust everything that Dorothy is saying, because
I
she's
thought
not
she was
getting any
protecting her.
information
She's like,
from
"Ki, theek
Coleman
hai."
anyway.
I
Yeah.
thought she was protecting her in a way that let me not break your. Matlab, at that point, Dorothy thought that he met a younger woman and he left me for her,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So I thought let him. Alison was like, let her believe it.
Saving her more pain from more pain कि चलो बुरा तो हुआ ही तेरे साथ,
And
let me
then she
not
gets
reveal कि
pissed
there's
off,
another
tries to
woman.
tell it to her son, but then she holds back and
Uh,
walks away.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Anyway, but when Alison leaves, she sort of sees someone who looks like could be
Yeah, could be
Dorothy's
the
son,
son.
and she starts talking to him, saying, "Are you Michael?" and blah blah blah, and she looks really angry, and you think, "Oh my God, she's gonna tell him everything," and
But no.
he looked so excited when um she
Yep.
mentions
His
that
father is
he needs.
mentioned.
Yeah, he's so excited, and she doesn't want to break his heart, and she just says that I
Yeah.
worked with him and you look like him, and that's it. She just leaves. And then it's just so scary to see that she just goes to a side and she just pukes because she just can't,
Yeah, it's so
take it
overwhelming,
anymore.
and it's
Yeah.
yeah.
It's really, really sad. But meanwhile, now again there's a flashback. I think it's around 1944 or so, and this time Alison is pregnant with their second child,
Again.
and she somehow manages to climb stairs with Gordon by her side, and you see this man packing, saying the landlord has asked them to leave and he's found a better house and blah blah blah, and they go to live in another house which looks worse than the first house, and now
Yeah.
she is trying to have her second child, and her mother has come to visit, and her mother is so concerned because she can see how
He's
you know
heartbroken.
yeah, such a terrible house to live in. And that's when she I think even talks to them, saying we need to do something about this, and you're not able to take care of her and the children. And she even suggests that they should give up Nigel, let someone adopt him so that he's taken care of. And Alec is like, no way. I mean, what kind of a man is he that not ready to take help from Alison's mother, who has, by the way, been paying the rent in the previous house also. And this guy is not getting paid. She can't go to work because she's pregnant. All this is happening, and still he refuses to take money. This part here, this whole ordeal that Alison goes through with the two children. I mean, no wonder she leaves him at one point, right? Why wouldn't she? This was
Yeah.
such a terrible thing to do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Imagine the regret she must be feeling after
Yeah.
finding all of this out. कि वो तब छोड़ देती तो अच्छा होता.
Hmm.
But I think the
Exactly.
episodes are also doing this zigzag where we find something bad
Yeah.
about him, and then someone she is convinced there's good in him. So then she's relieved, and then she's I'm glad I was right, and then again something worse happens.
Yeah.
And so they've
They're
kept us
designed
on
that
the
way.
edge कि भाई चल कि भाई चल क्या रहा है.
The amount
And
of emotional whiplash she is facing in
Yeah,
this.
Yeah.
yeah. That's a
yeah,
perfect term.
and
Fuck, fuck, fuck,
you
fuck.
can
मार बैठ
can't
रही है
blame
उसको.
her because her mind is taking her to different places. Like after she meets Dorothy on her way back home, she's thinking about everything that she has gone through with him, and she's drinking, she's frustrated. It's just such a sad scene when she's just sitting there alone drinking, right? And
Yeah.
she what else did I miss? Oh yeah, Chinmay will remember the lullaby that Alec sang in Urdu or
What a
Urdu
horrible
or
Hindi they
whatever the
use. मम्मी पापा बोले सो जाओ, कुछ तो फालतूगिरी बोलते हैं वो. ये
अम्मा
कहाँ से ले ला
अम्मी
रहे
अब्बू
हो?
कुछ तो था ना.
अम्मा अप्पू कुछ बोले सो जाओ, कुछ तो ऐसा.
It
वो
sounded.
अनुपम खेर ने सजेस्ट किया था क्या?
I am sure उसी ने सजेस्ट किया होगा और ठीक से सिखाया भी नहीं.
The only Indian guy on the set.
कुछ भी बोल रहा था वो.
नहीं मतलब मुझे क्या लगा ना इसमें, अनुपम खेर उसको बोल रहा है कि नहीं, यू बिलीव इन हिम, ही इज अ गुड मैन. मैंने उसको झूठ बोलना सिखाया, ही इज अ गुड मैन. एंड देन
नहीं सिखा.
नहीं सीखा.
हाँ, he says ना, I only told him to say like.
Hmm.
So then
Yeah.
when she goes to Coleman, she's like कि मुझे पता है बट मैं नहीं बताऊंगी. मतलब क्या ही चल रहा था बेचारे का, बहुत बुरा लगा
कोलमन
उसको.
भी काफी शेडी. कोलमन भी बयान पे बयान बदल रही है.
उसका किलिंग ईव में भी सेम कैरेक्टर है ये.
Yeah,
वही
very
उठा के.
similar. Very similar. Correct.
But the secret agents, I guess,
और
they're
ना
living so many lives कि सच क्या है झूठ क्या है खुद ही भूल जाते हैं, because they're in
And
such
that's
intricate
why
webs of
that's
lies.
why she was
Yeah.
like Mrs. Allison was okay with, as long as it wasn't romantic. He had to
It
marry
was
for
professional.
work, right?
Yeah,
It was professional relationship. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. But once she comes back home after meeting Dorothy, the next day, she receives the letter back from the government about the Blakefield Hall, right? And it mentions clearly that it was never owned by any member of the Wilson family.
Oh, that
And
was
she
so
immediately
heartbreaking.
hides the letter.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
फिर
the number of lies,
और उसके बाद वो फिर फोर्जिंग
and
करती है.
again her, and then
उसके अंदर का
when
ऐश
she meets
जागता
the
है.
neighbor, again the neighbor's like, such a
I
good man,
sympathize
such
with
a
her.
good man.
So
She
we
gets
support
so
Portray.
angry. My God.
But that
And
bichari
then
black
she,
lady, she's such so nice,
है
and
ना?
she's bringing food
yeah,
for her, and she's like, she's such a good neighbor, and then she's get yelled at, and मैं, अरे
और
यार.
बेचारी.
And she is the character who's so, bewildered कि चल क्या रहा है. थोड़ा.
I am trying my best, but ये क्या कर रही है ये औरत?
anyway, so then Alison goes to, wait, does she tell Nigel? No, she doesn't. Yeah. So then Alison goes to meet Kareem and accuses him of lying and all those things and saying like, why did you say he was a good man? He's not a good man. And he goes on about how he was one of the best agents and vagara
Yeah.
vagara. And then flash back to Lahore and we realize that at this point he is married to Gladys and Kareem knows about it. And unlike Coleman, who was the last handler of Alec, at that time Kareem was Alec's handler.
The handler. Yeah.
Yeah. So he is
Handler
trying
is such
to,
a weird term.
yeah. And he
I'm
talks
your
about
handler.
how he was responsible for introducing him to Dorothy and that he wanted Alec to get into the Indian high society and because Dorothy was an actor and that was the only way that he could think of getting Alec into
Yeah.
that part, and they are supposed to be dating each other. And he just says that all he asked Alec to do was escort her to these different parties,
And
to like a governor's
then do
house,
your job.
yeah, and just get information. And then there's this dialogue that Kareem says, when you live with deceit for long enough, it rubs off. You learn to use every situation to your advantage. I'm like, wow. ये कोई
Justification.
ये कोई तरीका है. And then he says that, he knew about their affair and, he thought, okay, it's fine. It's useful to them. But he said that he didn't think they would fall in love. And it's ridiculous. But yeah, at this point, I think this is the first time when we see that Alec is working on a novel. I don't think इसके पहले कभी इसका mention होता है. While he's with Dorothy, he's working on a novel, and and then Kareem keeps warning Dorothy, saying you shouldn't get attached to him, and all sorts of things, and she's just like, I'm fine. And then meanwhile, Alec gets an offer to publish his first novel, and then Dorothy gets pregnant. And it was so silly the way he said it. She found a fakir in the bazaar to take care of it. I'm like, yeah, all right. Anyway, but he says that, Alec was such a good man, he couldn't let that happen. I'm like, good man hota to wo pregnant nahi hoti, theek hai? Yeah.
That's clear as Catholic guilt, like anti-abortion, and that's why even anti-abortion, proper anti-abortion Catholic guilt.
Yeah.
And then this idiot, this Kareem, he faked a wedding for them at a cathedral in Lahore.
Yeah.
At that point, I wanted Alison to slap him. Like, तू ही है, तू नहीं कर रहा है.
हैंडलर होना एक चीज होता है, एनेबलर होना अलग चीज है. इसका एडिक्शन है बीवियां जमा करना, ये क्या करना है.
He's like, how can you sleep at night? And he's saying he saved hundreds of lives, and us women.
उसका वही डायलॉग है.
Yeah.
उसका वही डायलॉग है कि एजेंट बहुत बढ़िया था.
Yeah. Do his dirty work, lie to our children. And he's like, it's the price you have to pay for the service he gave. Yeah.
सर्विस ही
Wow.
मतलब सर्विस वो करेगा, प्राइस तुम पे करो बस. दैट्स इट.
मुझे अभी तक समझ नहीं आता कि मतलब करीम क्यों झूठ बोल रहा था. मतलब उससे क्या मिल रहा था इतना झूठ बोल
उससे क्या मिल रहा था
फालतू में, मतलब मजे ले रहा लोगों की जिंदगी में.
करीम इज द वन हु लाइक इसके सबके भी
Because he is an
साला बोर हो गया था वहां बैठे.
he is an accomplice of sorts, ना. तो he's an accomplice of sorts, I think.
वो बोर हुआ था इसलिए ये खेलते बैठा है डॉल ऑफ सबके लाइफ के साथ.
मैं देख
वही
लूंगा
फालतू में झूठ बोल रहा है अगला इंसान को सब पता, फालतू में झूठ.
So true.
एक तो वो करीब और ये फादर टिमोथी भी मुझे गुस्सा दिला रहा था, बिकॉज आफ्टर शी इज फीलिंग सो डिस्ट्रॉट आफ्टर लर्निंग ऑल दिस, शी गोज टू चर्च and she's saying that he lied to me and all that, and I don't know how to tell my sons, and he's like, don't tell them. I'm like, kya ganda advice diya isne. She doesn't tell her sons na in the beginning, which is so ridiculous. But because she wants
वो
to,
भी काफी कॉमन थीम है ना. like Coleman, Father Timothy, everyone wants to कि तू स्टेटस को मत चेंज कर, let the kids live their life, don't disrupt their lives, and she is dying inside with all these revelations. And
see, Coleman का थोड़ा अलग है, because she has been told not to say anything because of her job. ठीक है, वो अलग चीज है. She has signed whatever act and all that, but
NDA.
Father Timothy की advice इतनी गंदी थी. Soon after meeting him, वो घर गई है, उसने वो लेटर फॉर्ज किया है, उसके बेटे घर आए हैं, and her older son already knows everything. He has made all the calls and he's found out stuff. And then he's like, did you forge this letter? It was such bad advice that he gave her. It made the son not believe the mother at that point, right?
That relationship was affected because of that advice. She was not being transparent to her sons. which he could have again, but yeah.
Yeah, because he says that I called, who does he say? He says that he called the training base, and then he called a bunch of people, and he called the school where he claimed to study, and he called the college where he claimed to go, and he hadn't gone to any of those places. And he even gave some ring saying it's the family crest, and that was also nakli. So
Yeah.
when you're imagining this 20 something guy, finding out all these things about his father, it must be so frustrating. And then because
Oh.
he feels that even she is lying, he says that he doesn't want to stay there, and he takes the brother also, right? Both of them leave.
Yeah, the
So
younger one.
yeah, for of course, they're studying and all that, but still, uh, the younger one could have stayed back, but and gone to study from there. But Gordon is like, नहीं, ये नहीं रहेगा यहाँ पे. And
ये घर में सब झूठे हैं,
मुझे ना
यहाँ नहीं
वो
रुके.
मुझे वो सैंडविचेस के
and
लिए बहुत
after
बुरा लगा। इतना अच्छा डिनर टेबल सेट किया
इतना
था
मस्त
उसने,
था,
nobody
मैं तो
picked
मेरे
up.
मुंह से पानी आ रहा था।
बहुत बुरा लगा।
हाँ same है।
But after they leave, she suddenly remembers that she had hidden his wallet, because she still wants answers, right? So she finds the wallet, and then she finds something hidden inside the wallet, not the pockets, but inside the leather itself.
Hidden
And then
compartment.
she finds a business card, and I think that's where the second episode ends. The third episode, we are back to the 40s, where she is taking Alison is taking care of Gordon and Nigel. She's struggling, and this is when she goes to the prison to meet Alec, who now this time has been arrested on charges of theft, right? And it has come in the papers as well, and she's asking him, is this true, and all of that, and he's just trying to convince her that this is not true, and I'm here to find information, and as soon as I get that information, I will come back home. And this is when she says that she's leaving him because there's no food and there's no way that she can survive. And she says that she's going to sell the wedding ring, and she's going to go to her mother's house. And at that point you think, okay, this is the best decision that she can make.
Yeah.
And the mother is like thrilled. Even after she's going there, she doesn't want to immediately sort of dismiss, Alison doesn't want to dismiss Alec altogether, right? Because she knows that her mother never liked him because of various reasons. But she does ask him also, is it because he's a Catholic, or is it because he's older than me, or whatever the reason is. And she just she tells her, right? I mean, it doesn't happen at this point, but eventually she does say that, don't you realize he's lying to you? He's only been lying to you. But yeah, so at this point, somehow she's making sense of life in her mother's house, right? Now, coming to the present day, 60s, Alison has found that card in the wallet, right? And she's constantly trying to call the number on that, and nobody picks up, nothing happens. She goes to church, and I think that's the point where they keep the editing was good, that in present day she's going to church, and then in the flashback she goes to church in her mother's hometown, and that's where her mother finds her, right? That editing was also very nice. And then in present day 60s, she goes to Gordon's college, she talks to him. She says that I'm sorry for not telling you certain things about your father, but I am not going to lie to you. And he's like, was it even true? Did he ever work for the Secret Service? And she convinces him that even I worked there, so you can't you have
She
to
keeps
believe
repeating,
that part.
exactly. She keeps
Yeah,
repeating that I worked there, so believe me.
yeah. And she says that whatever I find out, I will tell you. You don't think that he was completely, a liar and all of that. I think she even says it was a cover and all those things also, right? To
Mm-hmm.
him. Yeah. But I mean, then there's that point where Gordon says that, do you remember that man who came to Dad's wake and said that he
Hospital.
worked with him at the hospital?
Hmm.
And then Gordon says something that he had never said before. He
Hmm.
says that once when they were kids, Nigel hurt himself.
Yeah.
And when he went to the hospital, he saw Alec dressed in a porter's uniform. And when
Yeah.
Gordon asked him what he was doing, he just said that he was doing it just for the day or volunteering or whatever.
Volunteering. Yeah.
And that's when Alison thinks, okay, maybe she needs to go talk to this man to find out what's happening.
Hmm.
But you do see Alison feeling a little lighter after she talks to Gordon, because at least she feels like she has somebody she can talk to about this, right? Because up till now she hasn't discussed it with anybody. At least the details she hasn't. Like ऊपर से उसने बस Father Timothy से बात करी है, but details में she has never spoken about this. But again, such terrible advice by Father Timothy. Meanwhile, Alison keeps trying that number, and nothing happens. And then it strikes her. She can do something, and then she uses iodine to at the back of the car,
Yeah.
and she finds another number there, and then she starts dialing that number, and she keeps waiting to um, for someone to pick up.
No
Yeah.
answer here.
Meanwhile, we go back to the 40s. Alec is out of prison, and he has come to Alison's mother's house, and he wants to take them back. And then Barbara, Alison's mother, asks him to stay the night. And at night, he starts yelling in his, he has a nightmare. And suddenly you see that Alison is again back to, feeling bad for him, and she wants to take care of him and all that nonsense, but she's still not convinced. So she keeps telling him that, it's not a good idea because you don't have the money and the children have to be taken care of and everything. And he says that you have to believe me, and I'm working, and you can follow me, and you will be convinced that everything is fine, everything is back to normal.
Yeah.
Again, at this point, the constant editing between the 40s and the 60s, I really liked it,
60s.
because Alison is dialing the number, and the dial tone kind of, or the ringing of the phone, is playing in the background of the 40s scenes. I loved how they did that.
Yeah.
It was
क्योंकि वहां
very,
पे constantly phones बज रहे हैं in the 40s because of the office
yeah,
and all of that.
I really liked that. And Barbara also tells her that I don't think you should go back because everything that he's saying is a lie. So he's a crook and everything. Alec gives her the ring back that she had pawned to go, and then he says that
एक
you
minute,
have to
wait,
come
that
back.
the card
Yeah,
that she finds the number from उसके like the other side पे वो pawn का ही shop का कुछ card होता है ना वो?
pawn shop का कार्ड होता है, उसके पीछे
number is Kareem ka.
Yes.
But them showing us कि वो pawn shop का card है, is it just confirming कि he never had any rings and he was regularly going to this pawn shop and मतलब गरीब था basically? Is that what that card shows?
I don't know. I felt like it could have been any card because he just
And that
needed a
didn't
card.
matter. Yeah.
Yeah. He just needed
Okay,
a
okay,
card.
that didn't matter.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was a front or whatever.
And he just happened to have that, but it still verifies कि मतलब pawn shops में आना जाना तो था उसका because he would have a card and
Yeah.
उसी पे फिर then he wrote that number.
Yeah. So by this time, he has convinced her that now the job that he has, he doesn't have to move around much. So she can come back to London with him. Meanwhile, in the 60s, you know, Alison is again gone to church. पता नहीं बार-बार ये church क्यों जाती है? मुझे पता है क्योंकि तब और कोई रास्ता नहीं
मुझे
था.
पता है but पता नहीं.
But मुझे गुस्सा आता है कि वो बार-बार church क्यों जाती है. But this time, you know, Father Timothy talks about faith and all that, and I'm just like, oh man, okay.
इसको
She
बंद करो
goes,
पहले.
yeah, but I'm just glad that she just doesn't stop at that, right? She goes to the hospital, she tries to find that man who came to the wake, and she talks to him, and he talks about how he used to never be in the hospital full time. He was always in and out, and he was always trying to meet a lady who used to come
Wow.
every week almost, and he used to call her the boss. And you know, he said she was old and she was a chain smoker, and we all knew who he was talking about. No
Coleman, yeah.
doubt there.
तभी मुझे डाउट आया कि अरे कोलमन के साथ भी चल रहा था इसका.
Wow.
Oh my
No.
God. But
And I won't
मुझे
be
भी यही लगा
surprised
था.
if they had.
Yeah,
I won't even be surprised if they had some sort of relationship at some
she
point.
has disdain for him, like Coleman has clear disdain for.
Probably he went to that fakir that the Dorothy had.
oh God.
Or she was just smart enough to never get pregnant, but yeah, things might have happened. Yeah.
Meanwhile, in the 40s, Alison does what Alex
I
says.
think Coleman hated her.
Hated
Sorry,
who?
go
Hated
ahead.
her. Like
Her or
Hated
him?
him.
Yeah,
Alison.
yeah.
yeah.
Even I
That
think
is very clear.
Yeah. So Alec manages to convince Alison to come back to London, and he says, "You should follow me." And when she follows him, she sees Coleman right there. He's talking to Coleman, so she's convinced that okay, everything is fine now. In present day, she goes to Coleman and she asks her why they didn't pay Alec, because you know, if it wasn't for her mother's inheritance, they wouldn't have survived. And she
भूखे
says that,
मरते,
you know,
yeah.
you hired him for all these different operations and you never paid him. And then Coleman's like, you know, we hired him at a low position because he had a criminal record, and that they fired him in 1942. And ये
When
सुनते
actually
ही
वो पकड़ा था. हाँ.
हाँ, ये
Yeah.
सुनते ही जो झटका लगता है एलिसन को, ये तीसरा झटका है. If you are keeping a count.
I have lost count. I have lost count at this point.
And then, you know, she says that Coleman says that Alec did not translate exactly what he heard during his assignment, Egypt assignment. And she also claimed that he embellished facts, and that and Alison says no, you know, he helped us win the war.
I was the translator.
Yeah, I know. And then she said that you read what he wanted you to read, and you
Mm,
know it
एक
took
minute. So Alison was never the translator. She was just She was just
she was
noting
just
She
down
was
everything that he
transcribing.
was saying,
Yeah,
ना?
sorry. Yeah,
yeah
she was transcribing.
वो translator था. He would
हाँ.
translate foreign languages to English
yeah,
and all of
because
that, ना? And
he
that's how he
spoke
could manipulate facts and embellish and do all that.
yeah,
क्योंकि और किसी को समझ तो आएगा. Okay.
yes. And then Coleman spoke about how MI5 spent 5 months to track down an Egyptian spying, and you know, whatever. And then Alison even says that she saw Alex's passport, and that it had stamps, and Coleman's just constantly like, उसने सब fake करा है, सब कुछ fake करा है, and that he was imprisoned for fraud at that time, and वो कहीं उसने और कुछ नहीं करा है, and again Alison accused Coleman saying that you were his handler. I saw that you met him, and this was much later, not 1942. To which he says that Alec was under surveillance because of the things he had done in the past. And that she was actually following him to make sure that, he wasn't doing something further more to harm the country. And this makes everything worse for Alison. And this time when she goes to church, she hurts herself because she hits her arms on one of the pillars,
Yeah.
and it's very, very sad. Um, and this time Father Timothy tells her about a survived women's home where she could go, and things like that. And Alison just goes to her house, and after some time she remembers that she should try that number again, which was at the back of the pawn shop business card. And Kareem is the one who picks the call finally.
And he
And
says, Tanvi the Great देखी क्या नहीं?
पहले ये बताओ.
पहले ये बताओ, तन्वी द ग्रेट देखी क्या नहीं?
And then, by the way, you guys do know, right, that Ian Glenn, aka Jorah Mohammed, is there in Tanvi the Great.
Really?
What is
Oh,
तन्वी
is
द
he?
ग्रेट? कोई मुझे बताएगा?
Yeah.
ये मैंने
Yes.
डायलॉग मिस किया क्या? तन्वी द ग्रेट वाला?
नहीं, ये अनुपम खेर की मूवी है which he directed, जिसके बारे में वो वैभव को बार-बार बोल रहा था ना इंटरव्यू में,
अच्छा, मैंने
remember?
सुना देखा नहीं वो इंटरव्यू. ओके, तभी मुझे नहीं पता.
So Mr. Wilson is
देखा
there
किसी ने
in
नहीं.
that movie.
एक झाड़ा था ना
Oh wow.
वैभव का.
Yeah. But coming back to Kareem, he says that, he was in Lahore, which explains why he didn't take the call all these days. And then she says that I, found it and found this number and all that. So he says, come to meet me and everything. And then she's like, why didn't you tell me anything before? And so he says that I didn't know I could tell you all these things at that point. But after, she found the card and everything, maybe whatever, now he can tell her. And
वो लॉजिक मुझे एक्चुअली समझा नहीं कि पहले नहीं बता सकता था, अब क्यों बता पा रहा है वो. व्हाट्स कार्ड पे
maybe
कॉल किया, मतलब व्हाट्स द बिग डील.
Anupam
I
Kher.
felt maybe that was because remember when he was in prison, he says that I can show you proof. I have a wallet. I have a card in my wallet. I can show you proof that I didn't lie to you and all those things, right? So usually, from what I figured, is that it's this sort of a safety net that spies have. That this is the one person who knows my truth, and maybe that's why.
Contingency plan types.
Yeah. So that's what I made. I mean, मुझे और कोई लॉजिक नहीं समझ आया इस चीज का. So if Alec trusted Alison enough to mention the card, that means Kareem can tell her the truth. This
Makes
is
sense.
what I read.
Yeah.
Actual में क्या है मुझे I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
मतलब I think it makes sense
I
कि
also felt कि मतलब कि करीम को सबके बारे में पता था, तो करीम
हाँ,
was like
but
पता नहीं
एक
किसको
को ही
पकड़ा है,
उसने
किसको
कार्ड
बताना है.
गिफ्ट किया. Yeah.
Because I suppose पूछने वाले काफी होंगे करीम को, right? कि वो
समझा नहीं,
आपको
फिर से
थोड़ी
बोलना,
sorry
फिर से वो समझाना क्या?
so
Why?
क्या समझाना है?
नहीं, can you just repeat what you guys just said?
So Diljit was asking that why didn't Kareem tell before
हाँ,
itself?
exactly, वही why.
हाँ
वही पूछ रही
हाँ,
हूँ.
तो वही मैं बोल रही हूँ कि maybe the card in his wallet was like a safety net, that if something goes wrong, this one person will know my truth.
But
You know, since he can't tell everybody what he's up to, that one person
but
that
what
he
truth? मतलब उससे क्या पता चला? ऐसा तो कुछ रिवीलिंग भी नहीं था वो.
उस पे हम अभी आएंगे,
Okay.
वो डिस्कस नहीं हुआ है. हाँ.
Okay,
तो
मैं वही confuse हो रही
after yeah, so after she meets Kareem this time, he talks about how a group of, you know, that when she asks Kareem why was Alec fired, and he says that actually he was not fired for lying, he was fired for telling the truth. And a group of officers in MI5 who wanted control of
Came
Alex's
out.
phone. Yeah, they wanted control of the phone line that Alec had to the Egyptian embassy. And he says that Alec was framed by a double agent working for MI5. That's the thing. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And then you know, they and that's when they accused Alec of fabricating material, so they could fire him. They wanted him out of the picture because they wanted to place their guy instead of him, because उनको help हो जाएगी ना, उनके double agent. They and then they wanted their guy to go to Moscow. फिर आपका पूरा KGB वाला एंगल भी आ जाएगा.
नहीं, वो सब ठीक है, but the point is Kareem was fabricating all this, right? To save his friend's ass.
पहले he was.
अभी भी तो this entire thing that MI5 framed Alex. वो true कहाँ है?
Do we know for sure that he's fabricating?
No, this
Do
we
know for
don't
sure
know.
he's not?
No, this we don't know at this point, because जो भी कोलमैन ने बताया है थोड़ा बहुत, करीम उसका सब उल्टा बता रहा है, right?
Right.
The only thing, and Kareem doesn't know everything that Coleman has told Alison. उसको भी पूरा नहीं पता है कि क्या बताया है ना? So you can't be sure of what is happening at this point. So you have to just figure out, you have to just sort of you know, solve this puzzle by listening to details from Coleman and Kareem and everything, right? So after he says that, you know, because there were a lot of people who felt that Alec embellished a lot of things of his past, like, you know, where he was from, his college, his school. Now, if you're working with spies, at some point they will realize कि यार ये झूठ बोल रहा है. He never went to this college. He never went to this school. है ना? So it was very easy for them to then pin this on him, क्योंकि उसने already इतने झूठ बोले थे. उसके ऊपर, you know, again Kareem mentions that it didn't help that his love life was so messed up.
Exactly.
No, but okay,
So much was against
मैं
him.
अभी confused हूँ, but I'm not going to say
Because
anything. I'll let you complete everything first.
because Coleman herself knew, right, that she knew about Gladys, she knew about Dorothy, she knew about Alison. So again, she is working for MI5, na? Why is she going to take his side? वो करीम की तरह उसकी दोस्त तो नहीं थी, right? So why will she do that? She has to do her job. She has to be neutral, right? So when
What
you think
agency or
about,
so what agency or affiliation is Kareem a part of in all of
MI5.
this?
MI5.
Is he also
So,
MI5? Okay.
Yeah.
so at that time,
MI6, MI6,
didn't
not
MI6,
MI5.
sorry.
MI5, I don't think existed at that time. I'm not sure. World War II के time पे, I think it was just Secret Service or
British
something.
Secret Service.
Secret
था.
Services.
MI5, I think बाद में बना. But yeah, eventually it would have been MI6 if Kareem was still a part of it. But then, after Kareem talks about all this, that he was targeted because he was an easy target. उसके already काफी झूठ थे. So it was easy to say that Alec was lying and whatever he said was wrong. Now, she at this point, Alison at this point feels like Kareem is lying and that he's just trying to, make his friend look good. And she just leaves because she feels that she can't trust Kareem at all. Now, after she goes home, she talks to her younger son. And just that one conversation where he just says that, you're stronger than you know it and all those things, it gives her some kind of assurance that she's ready to listen to anything that Kareem has to say. So she goes back. And this time when she goes back, Kareem shows her a bunch of letters that Alec wrote to MI5, pleading and saying that he's innocent and he didn't embellish anything and all those things. And that they planted stolen goods on him. Remember, he was arrested for theft. That's the connection that Kareem is trying to make. And this is why they stopped paying him, because they fired him and he was accused of theft, so they stopped paying him also. And he also says that he wanted to protect his family and he maybe at some point started believing his own lies. Everything that he used to tell them about the Blakefield house or about, that things are going to get better and, all these kinds of things. Now, when she asks for further proof, he just says that I can't introduce you to, the KGB and all those kinds of things. This is all you're going to get. He just says, don't just simply just give up on him. Keep believe that he was a good man and all those things. Again, not a very what do you say, convincing
argument.
Yeah. Then Alison remembers Alec again saying that you can go to the court and see if there are any cases filed against me. So now Alison
that
goes
was
to
also a
court.
point.
Yeah. So then she goes to court and she tries to find all if there's anything, and then she goes to Coleman and she says that there if you you said that he was arrested and all of that, but why aren't there any cases against him? Because she couldn't find anything. And that's when Coleman says that he was a pathological liar and that there is no way that they could have believed anything that he had said. And then that's when Alison realizes that whatever Coleman had said in the beginning, stop digging, your sons are starting their careers, and those were all empty threats. She just didn't want Alison to dig
Her
more.
to,
Yeah. And she's like, and that's when she realizes that she and her sons were never in danger. And that Coleman just wanted to stick to that narrative of Alec being a liar and Alec, betraying his country and all those things. And that, and then Alison is like, you know what? He might lie about his background. He might lie about how many wives and children he had, but he won't betray his country. And that is one thing that Alison was very sure about. That's one thing that he wouldn't do. And this is when she suddenly feels like, she knows who he was. And for her, it's enough. Knowing this is enough that at least he was not a traitor. He wasn't exactly the best husband, obviously, but he was nice to her children, and he was, loyal to his country. And somehow she's making peace, with the fact that at least he was not a traitor. And ये सब होने के बाद, she's finally feeling a little better. So she goes to her house. She vaguely notices a boy on the road on a cycle, and she just
And
look past that, and then she sees her neighbor, and she tells the neighbor, the couple, that please come home because my sons are going to come and everything. She goes to into her house. She's listening to music. She's in a much better mood. And then she notices that that boy on the bicycle has not left yet. So she goes out to find out, if he's lost or whatever. And then he just says that I'm actually looking for my dad. My mom will be here soon.
I'm supposed to be here, yeah.
Yeah. And this is the address we had. And we wanted to meet him because he has stopped sending money. The money factor, oh my God. And when she asks him, what does your dad do and all those things, he says he's a doctor, and that, he's probably in Pakistan. Meanwhile, she sees this woman walking down, and the boy is waving at her, saying, "That's my mother." And he starts talking about how his father has a house in Lahore, and that he taught him how to count in Urdu and all that.
Yeah.
It goes 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, and then Alison is just slowly walking back into the house, and then she just collapses on the floor. And in the background, you can hear that woman,
So sad.
who we find out later is Elizabeth. And, she's just screaming, saying, "I want to find out about my husband. Please open the door." It's just like the stress on her face. My God, she acted so well in that scene. It is so well done. Everything, the camera, the shot, and wow, just it's like so many things happen. Still, she's like, okay, I'm gonna find the will to live, and then this happens. You can't.
Our world came crashing down like 72 times in a span of 3 episodes.
Really bad. And then we see Alison burn all his things, and you don't blame her. And then 3 years later, Gordon and Nigel are cleaning up that house. Alison is not with them. And Nigel finds just one picture that Alec took of Alison, and that's the only thing that's left, and everything else she burned. And then we see that Alison is now living in a Servite women's home, and which I'm guessing is the same one that Father Timothy had mentioned. And Gordon has a kid now called Deborah, and he takes his daughter to Alison along with Nigel, and Alison tells them that she's whatever she gets from the house, she's going to give them that money, and that she has decided to stay there. So that tells us that initially she went temporarily and then she decided to stay there for good. And then she meets Dennis, Gladys's son Dennis, and she's sort of catching up on what's up with him and what's up with her and her sons and everything. And she asked Dennis, do you regret knowing about us? Everything about, and he just says that he's just wanted to know the truth, right? And this is something that Dennis also says, and I suppose even Alison feels that he was a good father at the end of the day. Which they think, I don't, but they think. And yeah, and then she talks about how, there are a lot of things that she has not told her sons. And then she talks to Father Timothy also about it, and he says that, you should tell them. Finally, Timothy ko bhi thoda buddhi aaya. He said, tell them the truth. But she doesn't want to tell them the truth in a way that, they start hating him. So she doesn't know how to sort of tell them. Meanwhile, she goes to Blakefield House, and then she meets a woman there who tells her that the house was used as a military hospital during both the World Wars, and that actually Alec came there and he recuperated as a teenager because he had gone to the front. And then the woman also mentions that he had nightmares even then. So that's something that, tells us that, okay, maybe she's talking about the right person.
इसी में वो word आता है ना, that very difficult convey, I can't even remember. वो कुछ था, like ये क्या बोल दिया भाई इसने, क्या किया था उसने.
You're right. And then, she talks about how everybody liked him and that one of the doctors there gave him a typewriter and he started writing a story about a young officer and all those kinds of things. And, then Alison remembers a very similar story that she had heard Alec tell Gordon, like a bedtime story. So that's again like a callback to what happened before. And she also said that, how Alec, that lady at the hospital said that how Alec would say that writing took away the fear inside him and he could fiddle with the story and give it a happy ending. And then the woman says, did he carry on with the fiction? And Alison nods and she says, until the very end. That's the dialogue that I think Chinmay was also talking about earlier.
Yeah.
But
I also,
and that's when
sorry to interrupt. When Alison के granddaughter उनको मिलाते हैं ना डेब्रा से, so I actually went on and googled कि Ruth Wilson का असली नाम डेब्रा तो नहीं है, because they mention it quite a few times. So I was like, maybe it's her way of like self-referencing.
Ruth is Nigel की बेटी.
Okay.
Yeah. So
ग्रैंडडॉटर
डॉटर ही बोला मैंने.
नहीं, नाइजेल की ग्रैंडडॉटर है.
नाइजल की ग्रैंडडॉटर है. ओह
नहीं, नाइजल की डॉटर है.
हाँ, डॉटर होगी रे, ग्रैंडडॉटर
तो शी इज पोर्ट्रेइंग हर ग्रैंडमदर ना.
हाँ, ग्रेट ग्रैंड
डॉटर ऑफ नाइजेल, वन ऑफ एलेक्स. करेक्ट.
Yeah. So and that's when Alison starts writing the story of her life, their life, and that is her memoir. And she mentions in it that, that one day she hopes that that her children find their other siblings or whatever, step brothers and sisters, or that maybe their children will find their cousins and all, and that she didn't want to hide anything from the children, which is why she's writing everything, and that she has forgiven Alec. I don't know how, but that woman says that she has forgiven Alec. And then, we see that she embraces nunhood. This is around 1967. And then she seems at peace. That's something that I did believe, that she probably finally seems at peace. She lived till 2005. And in 2007, all of Alexander Wilson's children found each other, and they became friends and everything, and they are still in touch with each other. And the series is dedicated to the four Mrs. Wilsons: Gladys, Dorothy, Alison, and Elizabeth. So yeah, that is the end.
Thank
Now,
That photo of
हाँ,
the
तो
Wilson
अच्छा
family, भाई क्या ही white family है, मतलब he was very picky
थोड़ा सा
about
भी मेलनिन आने नहीं
choosing.
दिया उसने।
तो अच्छा
कुछ
ये बताओ
brown, कुछ black, कुछ नहीं,
I
बिल्कुल
don't know.
white.
So the first time I saw it, I was shocked to suddenly notice on the left that Ruth is also there.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
Yeah,
you only think that, oh, it's just a coincidence, and but yeah, that was a big surprise.
grandmother.
तो नाउ
Yeah.
हियर्स अ
Yeah.
क्वेश्चन जो मैं कब से पूछ रही हूँ
Hmm.
कि ये सबने देख लिया, अब बताओ कि आई डोंट थिंक कोलमैन वाज लाइंग, आई थिंक एलेक वाज लाइंग, आई डोंट बिलीव फॉर अ सेकंड दैट ही डिड नॉट that he was framed or anything,
Embellish
and that is the
facts.
controversy because वो end
Yeah,
में
yeah,
लिखते हैं
yeah.
कि they tried to get it and they could
Same,
not
same.
get the
Yeah.
file. However,
Yeah.
all that being said, the amount, I mean, to me, he almost seems like a person who should have been kept in a medical ward because he is uh, just schizophrenic breakouts के वर्ड्स पर है, ठीक है ना, वो अपना फैब्रिकेट कर रहा है, इतने लेवल तक उसने फैब्रिकेट कर दी है चीज़ों को कि वो probably बिलीव करता है उन सब चीज़ों को, राइट? एंड आई मीन ही वाज अ थ्रेट टू नेशनल सिक्योरिटी, आई कैन सी इट बिकॉज जितना वो इधर उधर झूठ बोलता जा रहा है, क्या तुम्हें गारंटी है कि वो तुम्हारा झूठ कहीं और नहीं बोल रहा, राइट?
Yeah.
So to me he looks like a very a liability. So
So I don't know about schizophrenia, but he definitely had
I mean no, but he
PTSD.
was on a borderline thing कि he was just
Yeah.
manipulating. And
No, he
also the question
definitely
is कि
had
what does
PTSD, and it's possible that, in order to see people lying in order to save themselves, um,
no,
is, is,
that
is
all I
one is one
understand.
thing. Is one thing, but when you're working for the Secret Service, you cannot be going around lying like this. If he was
Also
not in the
I
Secret
still
Service.
don't understand the significance of that wallet के अंदर जो कार्ड था, वो पॉन शॉप का जो कार्ड था, जो नंबर वो डायल करी थी बार बार
वो
एलिसन,
इस करीम का ही नंबर था।
करीम का
करीम
था
का
ना?
नंबर था।
हाँ
हाँ,
हाँ,
अभी
करीम
कुछ
आंसर्स
देर
ही
कुछ देर
पहले
पहले
वो
हमने
ही इज नॉट एट
discuss
होम,
किया
सो
था।
ओके हाँ,
हाँ।
ओके। एंड व्हाट अबाउट जो करीम ने लेटर्स दिखाए, व्हाट इज इट कि वो भी उसने डिल्यूजन में अपने, वो तो ग्लैडिस को अपनी बहन बुला के लिख रहा था, ले रहा था, वो तो मतलब ही वाज स्प्यूइंग इतनी ज्यादा टेल्स सबको इधर उधर। उसने उसने 4 वाइव्स मैनेज कर रहा था, कैन यू बिलीव? 4 वाइफ को जगल कर रहा था वो एट वन पॉइंट। तो व्हाट इज द पॉइंट कि उसने
So the
MI6 को
and
लेके
he's meeting them at different points, and
सबकी
like he's a
बर्थडेज पे जा
presence in
रहा है।
everybody's he's
हाँ
presence in everybody's life, and other
Yeah.
than Dorothy, I think the other three families like him as well. Dorothy obviously doesn't like him,
ऑल्सो
but the other three
ऑल्सो टू
families,
नोटिस इज
yeah,
कि एलिसन अपने आप को दिलासा दे रही है कब से थ्रू आउट द थिंग कि ठीक है, ही डज नॉट हैव सेक्स विद एनीबडी, ही इज नॉट स्लीपिंग अराउंड, मेरे को मिला। उसके बाद डॉरथी को उसने छोड़ दिया, उसने ग्लैडिस के साथ ही डिड नॉट स्टे द नाइट एवर, ठीक है ना,
uh,
ही इज अ गुड गाय, ही इज अ गुड गाय, अंटिल शी रियलाइजेस कि उसके
Elizabeth.
बाद भी देयर इज अनदर पर्सन ही वेंट अराउंड
Yeah.
विद, राइट?
Yeah.
तो she got that, तब तक she was ready to justify everything for him until
Yeah.
she figured. She did not really believe it तब तक, right?
Yeah.
Which is just crazy. तो मतलब इतना 4 लोगों को जब तुम जगल कर रहे हो, एंड शी इज
Yeah.
एडमेंट, जैसे यू मेंशन, शी इज एडमेंट कि वो कुछ भी कर सकता है बट अपने देश को देशद्रोही नहीं हो
Yeah.
सकता, काइंड ऑफ
ये
अ
थोड़ा
स्पीच
मेरे को
है।
फ्लिम्जी लगा पॉइंट, लाइक
मुझे भी फ्लिमजी लगा। एंड द थिंग
The
इज
thing
आई
is,
कैन
प्लॉट के हिसाब से।
अंडरस्टैंड दैट ही इज नॉट डूइंग इट इंटेंशनली, आई वुड स्टिल गेट दैट पॉइंट, बट ही इज
yeah.
सच अ लायबिलिटी कि वो अनइंटेंशनली क्या डैमेज करके आ जाएगा तुम्हें पता भी नहीं चलेगा।
Mm.
दैट
I
काइंड
think,
ऑफ
पर
you know,
फिर
what we need to
what about
remember is that the story is being told from Alison Wilson's perspective, and that at that time, the resources she had were just the church in order to make sense of her life, in order to make sense of her whole life, not just her present life, but even her past, right? There's only so many tools that she had available in order to make sense of whatever had happened to her, right? So we do not have to believe what she believed, that he would never do anything against the country, or that he was never lying about the translation. This is purely her perspective, right? Um, so us being convinced or not convinced is something that we can definitely discuss at length. But from the story's perspective, this is how she saw it,
yeah.
right?
But when they are in like
Can
when he's translating, and then also he adds like bunch of stuff to say to Alice, and then
लंच पे
Alice
चलते हैं।
also tries to hide, like how tries to hide it. So if he is doing that at that point, so
हाँ,
I'm pretty convinced that he was writing fiction.
Hmm.
हाँ,
Yeah, it's definitely possible. There is no way for anybody to know the truth. In fact, I was watching Ruth Wilson's interviews about this, and she spoke about how she wrote to MI5 and MI6 many times, asking them for details about this, and at least about the family and those kinds of things. What else do they not know? And they just said it's sensitive information, and they haven't given anything. So the fact that till date they do not know the exact truth, is so frustrating, right? Not just for that one Allison's family. We just saw the story from her perspective, but for all four families, it is really frustrating that there's such a big void in the history of their family, right?
Hmm.
And which is
Now
why
can
they
you
had to, yeah, which is why they had to go through four different sources, more or less. One was a novel called The Secret Lives of a Secret Agent, The Mysterious Life and Times of Alexander Wilson, which was written by
अच्छा,
Tim
this
Brooks
Alexander
or
guy, he
something.
actually wrote books, right?
Yes, he wrote books. He did write books. And then the second source was the memoir, which was written by Alison Wilson, which, by the way, was published after the series release, not before.
oh
Um,
wow.
and they got a bunch of papers and archives about Alexander Wilson through whatever various newspapers and all those kinds of things, and of course anecdotes from family members, and of course इतने सारे family members हैं तो उनसे तो बहुत कुछ पता चल गया होगा, but this is something that Ruth Wilson said when she was asked about Alexander Wilson. She said that he's still a man of mystery for all of us. He has become a construct of everyone's memories of him. We don't really know what he thought about all this or what his real reasons were for doing all this.
So basically, I'm just reading through one of the articles in BBC. So he was sacked first, then imprisoned twice, and declared bankrupt while he was with Alison.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
उसकी finances की भी बात कर रहे थे ना.
yeah, definitely.
इसमें भी I think you're reading the same article as me, Ash, and इसमें भी there's a point कि what nobody disputes is that Alec was a fervent patriot. Like even in this article, it is highlighted कि, and even his son from Allison, the older son who is in Navy, अपनी in his speech says na कि I wanted this song to be dedicated because he was a patriot and I want this song to be sung and क्योंकि everyone is sort of highlighting that fact also कि वो देशभक्त तो था. Again, it is up to you how to interpret his actions and link them with whether he was a threat to the country's secrets or not. But again, that is a common theme कि patriotism तो था उसमें.
Now, by the way, here's something that I got to know, that they had to fictionalize a few things for the series, and one of those things was the conversation between Alison and Dorothy. And that was never a part of the memoir. It was something that the writer Anna and Ruth sort of sat together and imagined that conversation, because everything that Alison knew about Dorothy was through Kareem. She never really met her in person and spoke to her like
By
that.
the way, Kareem is a fictional character, na?
I don't know. But she didn't
In
get to
Mrs.
know.
Wilson, I'm reading it. In Mrs. Wilson, the battle for truth is personified by Alec's two handlers, Coleman and Shabazz Kareem, an invented character since there are few records for his time in India in 20s.
The
So
one
Kareem is
that
the
I read, it said that Alison did not know of Dorothy or Elizabeth. Like that was fictionalized for the series. She knew
no, it
Gladys
was
Star and she
अच्छा, Allison
उसको
did not. Okay.
I don't know because
She didn't meet them in person. That is, she got to know about Dorothy. She did not know
Through
about
Kareem.
Elizabeth. हाँ. She got to know whatever. वैसे अब वो exactly करीम से पता चला या किसी और से पता चला वो मुझे नहीं पता. But she got to know about Dorothy for sure, but she never met her. And another thing I got to know was that the real Alec never had a beard, but because Ian Glenn was doing Game of Thrones at that time, and they did not allow him to shave. So because of that, throughout he had to have a beard.
Since they did not have the budget of the DC
moment है.
universe to CGI that beard, they decided
क्या
not
क्या
to.
sorry I didn't hear this. मैं ये article ढूंढ रही थी. क्या बोला?
Yes, I saw this PBS article, even I've seen, yeah.
Timeline जो है.
Yeah. Another fun fact is that in the beginning, when Alison is traveling in a bus, when she's wearing that green dress, I think when she's going to get proposed, her father, Nigel, is sitting at the back in that scene.
Okay, I
Real father.
Real father.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nice.
And after the series was made, Ruth got to know that Dorothy and Alec were on the same ship while going to India. So they don't know if they knew each other prior to that, or
exactly.
if they were set
That
up.
I read. Yeah, I read about
Or
that.
if they were set up, but they definitely knew each other before going to India. They didn't meet in India.
As per Wiki article, they met on the ship.
Yeah. So you
James
never
Bond
know.
है भाई ये.
Yeah. And she wrote two memoirs. So the first one she wrote, and at that time, I think Ruth was close to her grandma, so she sort of read the first one soon after she had written it. The second one, though, she wrote later. And in the first one, she never mentioned any of the wives or anything. She only wrote about everything else about Alec. In the second one, she wrote about the wife she got to know about, Gladys and Dorothy.
Nandini, can you, for my sake, एक बार थोड़ा explain the timeline of when Alec had money and when he went broke in terms of his marriage? Because मेरे को समझ नहीं आ रहा वो अमीर कब था, गरीब कब था? How is his situation now in current time? I mean, when Alison is finding all of this, because he's supporting families, जैसे भी, like he's supporting 4 families or at least 3, not Dorothy's family maybe. So like when शुरू से लेके like what was his financial status in the timeline?
So from what I figured, I think within 2 years of him meeting Alison, he was fired because as soon as she was pregnant, she stopped working. Correct. And that is around the time when he was arrested also, the first time. Soon after she had her first kid. So I think that's when he was sacked.
उससे पहले he had money and he was a sort of
yes. उससे पहले he had money. Also उससे पहले is when he was still traveling, doing assignments, and so he was getting paid. So after that,
Gladys, obviously, whenever he would have married Gladys, he was like a good, wealthy fellow. Maybe not wealthy, but did well.
Not
and then
wealthy,
when he's in
he was
India,
on a payroll. Yeah, he was on a payroll and yeah.
So then he goes to India. India is where his book deal, gets approved or whatever. So I am guessing he starts making more money. And that's when he is with Dorothy, second wife.
Yes.
And then third wife is Alison, whom he meets after ending things with Dorothy, or right, or having a fight with her.
No, it doesn't end and then Alison start. ऐसा नहीं होता है. It's a क्या बोलते हैं? It's
at the same time he has like now 3 wives. Now he has 3 wives when he is with Alison. But why is he not supporting Dorothy properly then? If he has like a book deal and all of that.
You mean after he leaves her? I mean after she leaves him? Because she says that she doesn't want anything from him, right? She doesn't want to keep any connection. She doesn't want her son to meet him. So yeah. Yeah.
But then when does his financial things improve? Like after all of this, because then he also has a kid with Elizabeth, who I'm thinking he was taking care of, and they were living a comfortable life.
So that Elizabeth whole thing we have no information about. At least I don't know anything about that. All I know is that what I think his name is Douglas. Is his name Douglas? The kid, Elizabeth's kid. I can't remember. He had never met him actually. That is something that I
वो
got.
stories ही सुनता है, phone पे बात होती है, and is teaching him Urdu over phone. So,
he had never met him in person. That's the only thing I found about Elizabeth and
अरे मेरे को एक बार पता क्या वहाँ क्या लगा, when he says ना कि my father lives in Pakistan and he was teaching. मैं उस टाइम पे सोच रहा हूँ कि has Kareem taken on the name Alec and is actually the father of this kid? I'm thinking in that angle कि करीम भी अपने अपने अलग adventures में चल रहा है, and like this is a way to sort of bring another twist.
But overall, what did you guys think of the series? Or if you have anything else to say, please do.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. Like, it kept me hooked. And one of the best things about British TV is always कि खत्म हो जाता है जल्दी. They don't
And मुझे
keep you.
editing करने में बहुत मजा आया. And everything was shot. By the way, they shot everything in Belfast. They didn't shoot in London at all, including the so-called Lahore. वो तो obvious था कि it's
वो
not
इतना
India.
obvious set था वो.
बहुत obvious था. But budget problems की वजह से they couldn't really go anywhere else. So they shot everything in Belfast. I mean, I suppose for a limited series, I think they did pretty well with whatever
Yeah, yeah.
resources they had. And I really liked the editing of the whole show. I really enjoyed it. Like it didn't confuse you. It kept you guessing, right? And
Yeah.
for a story like this, I think that's so important to keep you hooked because
It was very easy to mess this up because on the
yeah,
surface of it, uh, there's not much story in, like if you don't dig deep, there's not much story in it. Like it's just one guy marrying four women.
yeah,
But the way they've transitioned from past to present and everything, the way they've chosen to show this, I think
yeah,
that
And
made it much more interesting.
again, I felt ki 3 episodes was the perfect
Yeah,
Goldilocks zone that they were able to
Length.
find.
Yeah.
क्योंकि थोड़ा ज्यादा लंबा होता तो इट वुड हैव बीन लाइक कि हाँ रिपीटेटिव है, हर बार नई बंदी लेके आ रहा है, व्हाट्स द पॉइंट.
एक
yeah,
एपिसोड में एक वाइफ
एक एपिसोड में वो हो
रिवील हो रही है.
जाता था. Yeah.
yeah, true.
And I know we often talk about ki Hana, we have to get out of that colonial hangover and stop praising them for as if they are the gold standard and all of this. And then you see stuff like this and then like यार कुछ चीजें तो बहुत अच्छी करते हैं ये. Like British shows when you watch and that the charm those shows acting जो वो करते हैं is so much superior than stuff we वैसे see and like the
Yeah,
editing or acting मतलब कुछ तो है उनमें वो.
I think
Yeah.
there
yeah,
also मतलब just like India would be a क्या बोलते हैं very vague generalization, but UK I feel is very theater heavy, right? So उनके
yeah,
actors जो
हाँ
आते हैं, most of the actors, even if you say Olivia Colman पकड़ लो या even
हाँ
Benedict पकड़ लो, जो भी बड़े नाम है, they are from theater background. Even
yeah.
Tom
All of the
has like
actors
superhero
in
movies
this
कर
series
दिया.
also
Yeah.
do theater,
Yeah.
and the thing is, all of them, like we only know of people who juggle between, say,
Hollywood and
streaming shows and
yeah.
movies, right? But theater is a huge part. Like even Ruth Wilson has written, co-written, and been a part of plays. So all of them actively do plays and series and
Even when they
movies.
are big, when they're doing
Yeah.
Hollywood movies, they go back and do plays and they continue doing that. Like it's always sort of part of their training.
Yes, because that
That
culture is there.
cucumber batch guy also is like actively doing plays and whatnot in London and
Oh,
all
you
of
have
that.
to watch The Roses. Super funny. Nice time pass
The
movie.
very
The is
entertaining. Yeah.
when Ruth Wilson went back and researched all of these family members, she found out that a lot of the descendants are into filmmaking, theaters, and writing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hmm.
Fiction is genetic.
Genetic है ना
और
उसके.
Venice.
मैं ये भी सोच रहा था कि there's a very minute difference between this guy and the main bad guy in the guest list.
हाँ.
In terms of how many females he has had
I don't think so.
relationships
Yeah.
Destroyed
with
lives
and
of.
That guy
मतलब different
would
है
not
but
make a father at all. Yeah,
वो
I don't
ज्यादा
think so.
shady था and so much more stupider.
Yeah.
Stupid. Yeah.
I wouldn't know. But
It's good.
Good thing.
It's good.
Recording बंद करनी है? Time नहीं है.
कर सकते हैं if you guys want to talk anything about the actors. All good. हो गया क्या? Ruth Wilson, Ian Glenn,
Talk about any
Fiona Shaw.
weaknesses of the show.
क्या
Things
वो
that
तो बात ही
you
नहीं की.
think didn't work for you. Yeah.
Anupam Kher.
मेरे को तो सब अच्छा ही
That's
लगता है,
it.
so I am.
The end.
I mean, the so-called India scenes didn't work for me
Yeah.
because it didn't look like India. So that definitely was not convincing.
अरे Ian
But
McGregor was in Game of Thrones. Crap. हाँ
इसलिए तो
sorry,
जोरा
What?
मोहम्मद बोल रहे हो उसको.
हाँ वो
Uh,
distracting थी.
Sir Barristan Selmy and Jorah Mormon
मैंने
दोनों
अभी
हैं.
तो Ash, I don't know, you're so distracted. अभी मैंने 5 मिनट
हाँ
पहले
मैंने
बोला
सुना, मैं इसीलिए तो
अभी
ढूंढने गई कि कौन
5 मिनट बाद ऐश का
दाढ़ी
आया.
की
मैं
पूरा
एक रैबिट
डिस्कशन.
होल में गई थी जहाँ पे गेम ऑफ थ्रोन्स और सारे एक्टर्स निकाले मैंने यहाँ के.
Oh my
I
God.
heard
Because
कि
she is doing
दाढ़ी
her own research at the side.
बैक ऑफ माय हेड में दाढ़ी का डिस्कशन था, मैं उसी पे फॉलो अप कर रही थी.
Ash is reminding me of all those students in class who didn't pay attention.
मैं नंदिनी की
वेलकम टू
क्लास में होती तो
ADHD.
बाहर खड़ी होती पूरे टाइम,
सेम
डांटता
सेम.
फिर.
Oh man.
बट वीकनेसेस में हर एंडिंग में जस्ट हर बीइंग हैप्पी एंड कॉलिंग हर सन की योर फादर वाज अ गुड मैन एंड वो पूरा
Yeah.
वो अनकन्विंसिंग लगा मेरे को थोड़ा.
नहीं मुझे I bought it because she kind of got into a religious zone ना. So
Yeah.
maybe that is where
Yeah.
you get
Forgiveness,
bombarded with
वो
the
she,
forgiveness का concept ना कि
वो
God is
forgiveness
Lord
आ
and
गई
so
कि
forgiving and all. So that's why I didn't
yeah.
mind it that much.
But she was
But
never
even if
shown
you
to
read
be
articles like the
religious. तो ये कहाँ से आया बीच में से?
No, I understand it. It probably fell too soon. Also, I get it, but that's why I keep repeating that. She's a person of that time, and she's a person who is trying to work and keep her family intact. She's trying to keep everything together. There's a lot of pressure on her, right? So
Yeah.
your life is sort of
plus
crumbling down. You are grabbing onto any kind of pieces you can get to make sense of your life. So yeah.
I was sort of relating it with our parents' generation also. We often वो आती है ना reports की इस age में like our parent generation there were so many fewer divorce rates and the divorce rate is very low. You know? That's because the wives have always been sort of accommodating of their husband's faults and कि चलो family बची रहे. And ये तो उससे भी पुराना है. Sure, British हमसे थोड़े आगे थे. But even comparing them with like the housewives would do anything to protect the families and ignore certain vices of their husbands. And इसमें like she is playing that role of this woman who is just keeping the family together and eventually forgiving the person
But
who just
I don't know
played with their
because
feelings.
women during World War II वाले women they were a lot more industrious because the men were away
Yeah.
and they had to pick up a lot of slack. So they were the backbone and the administration, everything they handled. So
Because they
that's
started
why,
working and all of that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's why they were much more liberated than the women who were working
उसके
in say
बाद
60s 70s because तब तक तो सिर्फ सेक्रेटरी वाले जॉब ही मिल रहे थे.
jobs, right?
Yeah, because
True,
even
true.
even if sidetrack if football का example during World War II men's football because men were dying in the fields so men's
Dying.
football तो था ही नहीं. That's why women's football became much more popular and it's continued to be popular for a long time until they banned it completely. कि तुम लोग क्या लड़कियों को देख रहे हो. That's
Yeah.
why they were a lot more industrious, lot more outgoing. So I don't think she was in that. She moved places also. Like women don't. It's अगर बाद में का time देखोगे that women are staying are moving out of their house only when when they get married. She moved to a big city to work with the
Yeah.
Secret Service also. That's a
उसका
huge
भी
leap.
वही था ना कि I am bored at this small town and मेरे को घुटन हो रही है and I can't
Yeah,
survive
yeah.
there. That's why she moves to this
That's a
bigger
very
city and कि
let's say
I'll
US
do something.
यहाँ पे अगर देखा अपन ने which why women kill में that's a very 60s 70s kind of thing, right? Like when you are just when that thing is happening, when Vietnam is happening, and after that
Yeah.
they think ki we should also do something. I think
But
they
I
were
did
then they
feel
regressed. The society regressed after that. But her particular character and her character during that era was much more progressive
Do
Yeah.
than the women that
we
came later.
know रियल में दोनों की शादी कब हुई है? Alec and Alison Wilson. Like in what year did they get married?
Just before World War, no, during World War II.
It was, I think, during, because I'm guessing it was 42 maybe.
बॉम्ब गिरने के बाद ही हुआ ना.
हाँ. So I'm guessing it's 42 because I think
And
when we see her
41.
in
यहाँ पे
Yeah,
तो
they
41
say
लिखा
it's
है.
42. They say in the show it's 42.
विकिपीडिया पे
शो
41 है.
में तो कुछ
Elizabeth,
फिक्शनल भी है
wait,
ना.
wait. Gladys 1916, Dorothy 1927.
16. Okay.
Alison 1941 and Elizabeth 1955. Dorothy and Alison में बहुत बड़ा गैप था. 14 years.
16 से लेके and 55 तक the person, how, like, kudos to this person's fertility.
34 years.
He
I'm not
keeps on
even
having
that old.
kids with them.
34 years में 4 शादियां कर ली.
और
मैं
चारों
जब
शादियों में
देखी,
लड़के.
when I was watching it with Ullas, I was saying ये क्या, ये तो अंग्रेजी विकी डोनर निकला, ये तो.
सही में. उसके भी एंड में सारे बच्चे एक साथ आते हैं ना.
हाँ.
Alison is
बड़ा
working
industrious
when
farm
he
है.
dies. When he dies, no. अभी current times में, like, Alison is working again, and do we know कहाँ work कर रही है वो?
वो कोई टाइपिंग का ही जॉब है ना कहीं तो.
Looks like a,
But
yeah.
not Secret Services, not Secret Services.
No.
Okay.
Doesn't look like that. But in an interview, Ruth Wilson did talk about how, because she was asked about, why didn't she leave him and things like that. And she was just talking about how at that time, husbands cheating on them was something that would lead to a divorce. And most women were scared of how they and their children would be, how they will be looked at by the society. And even in terms of their religious beliefs, it would have been very difficult. So, which is why she said that a lot of people look the other way instead of acknowledging, even to their partner, that they know about their affair, because that would mean taking some kind of a decision about it. So yeah, I mean, to me that is believable, that even if a person is working and independent and all of that, they'll still feel the pressure of society.
Making compromises, yeah.
Yeah.
And to clarify, like, this eventual family that we have, there are no stepchildren there, right? Only half siblings only, no step siblings there.
Half siblings are steps. Like, are you saying that they married someone else? The women married someone else?
Yeah, that's because half siblings, because this Alec is the common link there, no?
Yeah,
Step
there's no other
sibling would be
husband.
even none of the there's no other husband. वो फिर stepfather होगा ना, for any of the wives.
Yeah, I
But
don't
वो
think.
नहीं है ना.
I couldn't find anything like that, but I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, this was fun, guys. I mean, I was not sure if we'll be able to do a short series, but I'm glad कि कर लिया है. And अगला हम
Are you
I think
gladdest कि हमने किया है?
But अगले महीने पूरा break लेंगे. We're not gonna do anything next month, but eventually we will definitely get back to a series which will I am hoping which will bring everybody back again, even though usme zyada seasons honge and all that. But we will definitely
जैसा आप
come back
बोलो
after October and get back to it, and उसके बारे में और बातें जो भी हैं वो ग्रुप में कर लेंगे. But thank you
Thank you,
very
Nandini,
much.
for suggesting this. ये
Nandini?
कभी दिखता नहीं मैं.
हाँ,
just by the
100%.
name, the name is so
opposite.
boring. Just by the name, मैं देखता नहीं है.
Yeah, the name is so boring and it's very. We would never have found it. Per
Yeah.
se. मतलब कभी.
But it's
Yeah.
so accurate.
हाँ.
It's so accurate for the name of the series is
Yeah,
Dear
yeah,
Mrs.
yeah.
Wilson.
Perfect name.
And
It
pick your
sounds like a
favorite.
stupid
Pick your
name, but then
favorite.
it makes so much sense, right?
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nandini.
Thank you, Nandini.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nandini.
Bye.